with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
KIRO-FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by ZipRecruiter.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The catastrophic floods in Texas have claimed at least 95 lives. Senator Ted Cruz.
The pain, the shock of what has transpired these last few days has broken the heart of our state.
At least 27 victims were from a girls' camp. Reporter Karen Hui is following the search efforts for many who are still missing.
Day 4 of this continued search. We hear helicopters flying by every once in a while. There are boats and drones. Agencies from other states and Mexico have come to help in this effort.
A tropical system that developed over the weekend in the Carolinas has moved up the East Coast, but as Jim Krasula reports, it left at least one person dead and forced many to flee their homes in North Carolina.
As much as a foot of rain fell and hundreds had to be rescued. Many need to find a new place to live. Taysa Satterwhite had to jump out of an apartment window to escape rapidly rising water in hard-hit Chapel Hill.
It was really scary. And then the lights went out. It was dark, and all you could see was the water just moving. That was really scary, for real.
Many roads and bridges were washed away, and tens of thousands are without power. There was also widespread flooding across South Central Virginia. Jim Krasula, CBS News.
President Trump is sending letters to trading partners, warning them of tariffs by August 1st if they don't strike a trade deal. CBS's Nancy Cordes at the White House.
Trading partners will have a few more weeks to kind of come back with their best offer, get their deals solidified before August 1st, or he's going to sort of let his original tariff rates snap back into place.
Trump sent the letters first to South Korea and Japan, warning them of 25% tariffs on their goods. A federal judge in Maryland is weighing the fate of Kilmore Abrego Garcia, as Scott McFarland reports.
Here's what Abrego Garcia wants. He wants to be returned to Maryland, from which he was deported, instead of being held in Tennessee, where he's facing a human smuggling charge. What's more, he does not want to be deported by the feds, as the Department of Justice has argued he is poised to be.
He was initially mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Nearly 100 members of the California National Guard and military vehicles are helping to protect immigration officers as they carry out a raid in Los Angeles today. The Defense Department insists it is not a military operation, though defense officials admit it may look like one. The U.S. has now recorded its worst measles epidemic in more than 30 years. Johns Hopkins University says 1,277 cases have now been confirmed in 40 of 50 states. On Wall Street, the Dow is off 479 points. This is CBS News.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
A mass shooting at Isidro Woolley Park. This story coming up, but first from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk.
You are stop and go through Bothell due to an earlier crash on I-405 southbound near State Route 522. The disabled vehicle's been moved from the I-90 bridge eastbound, and the crash has been cleared near SeaTac Airport on State Route 518. You are crawling on I-5 southbound near JBLM. Travel time Tacoma to Olympia, an hour and 7 minutes, more than half an hour longer than usual. Traffic brought to you by Closets by Design, custom storage solutions for closets, garages, home, offices, and more. Closet.byDesign.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and MyNorthwest.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Heather Bosch. One person is in custody after a deadly shooting in Isidro-Woolley Park. More from KIRO 7 TV's Madeline Ottley.
Whitley and her husband Kyle were watching a crime show. They never expected moments later they'd end up steps from a crime scene in real life.
Kids screaming and running from the playground.
Definitely knew it was gunshots.
Police now confirm one person was killed, 5 others were hurt after a shooting outside the community center in Memorial Park.
Police are investigating whether anyone else was involved in that shooting. U.S. Marshals are combing the Idaho backcountry after a possible sighting of Travis Decker. He's the man accused of murdering his 3 young daughters near Leavenworth last month. A family reported seeing someone who looked like Decker in the Bear Creek area in the Sawtooth National Forest. But Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison says it is also possible Decker is dead.
He could have taken his own life. He could have succumbed to injuries. We recognize that's a possibility.
There is a $20,000 reward leading to Decker's arrest. Police in West Seattle are trying to determine what led up to a stabbing yesterday. The 17-year-old victim was in a home in the Delridge neighborhood. She is expected to recover. Police say 2 teens, a boy and a girl, ran from the house before officers arrived. Harborview Medical Center is tallying up the number of fireworks-related injuries. As of this morning, they treated 52 people. That's about on par for a typical year. Most of them involve wounds to the hand. Orthopedic surgeon Chelsea Bowe described those kinds of injuries in an interview from UW Medicine.
There's trauma to the skin, the soft tissues, the tendons that help you move your fingers, the nerves that let you sense your fingers, and then the bones themselves.
Harborview is treating 21 people with hand injuries and 14 with injuries to their eyes. Next week's MLB All-Star Game in Atlanta will have 4 Seattle Mariners on the American League roster.
Munoz ready from the set. And the 0-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. Strike 3 and it's over.
M's closer Andres Munoz gets his 2nd consecutive nod for the American League. He'll join center fielder Julio Rodriguez, Brian Wu, and Cal Raleigh. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Sunshine today with highs in the low 80s. It's 75 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with a KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO News Radio.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the beginning of your work week, where most of you have been at work all day. I just got to work. Tough to be me. Welcome to the Jake and Spike Show. Greg Tomlin will be in this week for Jake Skorheim. We hope you guys had a beautiful 4th of July holiday weekend with friends and family and fireworks and food and fun, and you got all 10 fingers this morning. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to wish Jake and his family good luck this week. Jake's going mountain climbing. Jake is trying to do something no man has ever accomplished before, to ascend Honeydew Mountain. I don't know if you've ever been to Honeydew Mountain.
I have not.
It's that mountain with the climb is a degree of difficulty is incredible. It's littered with all the things your wife has been after you to do for the last 18 months. And then 12 months, and as you get closer to the last 6 months, and finally that peak is the last month. All the honeydew list things. I'm making a joke here.
Is this a metaphor or literal?
Yes, it's a metaphor. It's Honeydew Mountain. Jake's going to spend a week at home. I'm like, are you nuts? Work is a safe haven when you're in a marriage and you own a home. You know this. Time off is not time off for the man in America. No.
the duty's double.
It's Honeydew Mountain. And no one has ever made it to the top and planted the man flag at the top of Honeydew Mountain. I'll stand by that statement forever. Greg, how have you been, my friend?
I've been great. Always a privilege and a thrill to be here. Thanks for having me. Had a wonderful Independence Day. So I got nieces and nephews from ages about 10 to 16. My kids are ages 8 to 14. So they're in those prime years where they're filling the memory bank. And so my brother-in-law, and I, we figured we had to dip deep into the pockets this year, spend a little extra. So I'd say we topped almost $300 worth of fireworks.
Wow, just the two of you.
Which honestly lasts about 15 minutes.
That's right. That's the opening act for a good fireworks show. And it was just the two families, so you blended the resources?
No, so it was immediate family, extended family.
Okay.
We were out at my parents' place, and it was, I have to admit to you, it was pretty magical. You know, we got the tanks, you get the snakes, you
the
get
ground cover for kids, sure.
They're not called stink bombs, but the smoke bombs.
Smoke bombs. Did you get the pooping dog?
They were sold out of the pooping dog.
Because Jake Skorheim's family bought all.
Yeah, apparently they did. Because we asked for them and we said, do you have any special stash in the back? And they said no at the TNT.
The Skorheims have been here.
Okay. I made sure to get the little parachuting men. You shoot
those
up?
Jake's kids love it. Not to be, Jake's, he's hitting his boys.
Here was the prime mistake, though.
What'd you do?
And I'm going to out us what happened. We set off the parachuting men a little too close to a power line. Whoopsie daisy.
Uh-oh.
So one of those guys is going to be hanging
Normandy
there
all over again.
about the next 4 years. If you look up, you'll know that was the Tomlin family that did that one.
Your kids learned a rule about parachuting.
Yeah, they did.
That's right.
Avoid power lines.
It was a life lesson all wrapped into the festivities. So,
and so we had a very low key family 4th of July, didn't it? We have got family in town. For the holiday from various points of the country, southwest, southeast, the whole 9 yards. And some of them were downtown to watch the fireworks. My kid went downtown, my youngest, and my sister and her kid were down there as well, watching the orchestrated city show. We stayed home and played low-key, kept our dog happy and calm, because, we have a little pup who's not real firework-friendly.
Medicate?
We didn't have to.
Okay.
Didn't have to. Got them storm windows a few years back and just shut the windows, and kept it calm and, kept just a good vibe, kept contact with the dog, petting the dog a lot for 3 hours. But I made the mistake, and I'm going to try to be careful here. I made the mistake of watching the local coverage of our South Lake Union, Gasworks Park, Seafair 4th of July fireworks extravaganza. I want to give credit where credit is due and blame where I think is necessary. And I watched local TV coverage on King 5. And I had a couple issues with the fireworks show, and I'm not sure if they're just my own personal prejudice and perception, and maybe my ageism about the 4th of July. Because you called it. There's a magic time for kids in the 4th of July. We talked about this last week a little bit. How the 4th of July seems to be the one holiday that touches all Americans, regardless of age or station or the American experience they've lived through. 4th of July bonds us all. And I, as a little kid, remember, being born and raised in Baltimore on the East Coast in a hotbed of American history. The 4th of July is special. Baltimore's the home of the Star-Spangled Banner. Flag Day is as big as the 4th of July in Baltimore because of our extreme pride in being the home of Francis Scott Key's Fort McHenry observation of the bombs bursting in midair and the rockets' red glare, which led to the firework displays we enjoy from state to state and
sea to shining sea.
Sea to shining sea, man. Yeah. So I'm watching the King 5 coverage, and first off, King 5, lose the banner. Lose the King 5 fireworks display banner across the bottom of the screen. I know you spend a lot to host these events, and it's a branding exercise. We want you to know who's bringing you the broadcast. But it blocked off 25% of the screen. The whole time I'm watching this, it's the King 5 fireworks, Seafair fireworks extravaganza, whatever, I'm like, really? You got to have the banner the entire time we're there? And again, this is maybe me and my antiquated grandpa get your fireworks off my lawn point of view. I hope I'm not that guy already. I'm feeling like it. I'm listening to the show, and the musical accompaniment was, and the music to fireworks shows is half the experience.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And
adds to the mood.
It does. And I'm not I got nothing against new music. I got nothing against any genre of music, and there are time and places for all these things. And I know you have to appease the audience, And it's not my America anymore with regard to the musical taste and the generational genres that are popular. Because there was like, I love Chaperone. Is that how you pronounce his name? Who I love, a great kid, Midwest kid, chased dreams to the big city, created a persona, won a Grammy, and one of the songs played during the 4th of July fireworks extravaganza broadcast on King 5 was this massive hit from Chaperone. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. It's fine.
She also played that at the Grammys. It's a super mega colossal hit.
It's a massive hit. My kid went up to watch. I think it was the Capitol Block Party that Chaperone played a year ago. Had booked the event prior to the explosion of their career.
But I think your point is it doesn't necessarily conjure up images of Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration of Independence, and the founding of this great nation.
It doesn't, but
it more conjures up images of a gay bar in West Hollywood, which is about.
which is great because, and I'm having a real-time revelation right here, because I'm thinking, where's the Yankee Doodle music? Where's the Sea to Shining Sea? Where's Ray Charles? Oh, beautiful. I mean, where's the traditional? Where's Whitney Houston's Star Spangled Banner? They played the Toby Keith song, was it Made in America? He's got the red, white, blue, blind hound on the farm. Semper tattooed on his left. And this was like the big finale number. And I'm like, oh, okay. I got nothing against country. But, there was an AI country song a couple months ago we played that is like, AI generated every country cliche going. And it's pretty much, Toby Keith should sue that AI song because I got nothing against that. But where's the Yankee Doodle Dandy music? Where's the John Philip Sousa? Where's this? Right?
Man, this one slaps.
This is, and I'm watching this stuff and I said I was having a real-time revelation because I love that the music put together for the King 5 Seafair Fireworks Extravaganza was inclusive. Okay. Had the kids represented. There was some hip-hop that I didn't recognize. I could have asked Nick to play, but I don't know. These were massive rap or hip-hop songs. I'm not even sure which genre they'd fall into. And I recognized the melodies in some of the songs. I couldn't tell you who played these songs. That's not my genre. It's not my... I get it.
Right.
I get it. And I'm thinking to myself, is it me? Am I the guy? Am I the problem? Because life has just passed me by. And before I get off of bagging on King 5 a little bit, whoever was doing the camera work at King 5, for the live show, they were trying to outsmart themselves. They kept cutting from the fireworks show to show crowd shots. And here I am watching like an extended 45 seconds of looks like hostage video as this kid's forced to dance with his grandmother in the dark, barely lit, couldn't see. I'm like, what is that? And I'm missing the show. And they cut back to the show, and here's like the streams of rockets that went up into the air, and I'm seeing the streams, but they didn't catch the bombs bursting in midair portion. And they kept showing the ground cover more so than the aerial shots. And it was, again, the ground cover was blocked by a quarter of the screen from it said King 5, the banner across the bottom. I'm thinking, I don't know who did the camera production, the television production. I know it's a tough gig to be in a TV booth and watch. Go to camera 5, give me this. Okay, give me some back roll, give me some, and move around through the shots.
It sounds like you were in a bit of a truculent mood on Independence Day. Maybe the spirit of 1776 was emanating throughout the O'Neill household. But I heartily agree with most of what you're saying, actually. One of the themes that I find that I've been dwelling upon at this time of my life is the notion of passing the baton from generation to generation.
Okay.
And how things are usually either in a state of decay or in a state of improvement. Rarely, if ever, do they stay stagnant. And
to quote the great Tom Callahan, you're either growing or you're dying. Ain't no third direction.
Yeah. So,
Boom.
right, okay, you're heading in varying degrees depending of improvement or devolving, right?
Right.
And so I think these are keen observations that you're making because big holidays, Independence Day, Christmas, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, so on and so forth. They're times of national cohesion. They're times to remember who we are, where we've come from, where we're at, and where we're headed, right?
Right.
And if you reminded me of this great quote from Andrew Fletcher, who is an 18th century Scottish writer and politician. He said, "Let me make the songs of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws."
Oh,
just think about that for a moment. Okay,
that's deeper to people.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
because music has the ability to impact, influence, and persuade.
Yes.
It's highly seductive. It conforms the soul to the lyrics that are inherent to the melody of a tune. And so if you just go with the latest hotness or the latest and greatest.
Right.
I mean,
Thank you. You can sprinkle them in.
The Pink Pony Club.
I love that it was inclusive. It was an inclusive
it's a
representation.
nice tune.
Yeah.
I'm glad the kids love it. It's not representative of the nation at large, right? So
Yes.
I'm thinking,
It's not unifying.
Where's America the Beautiful? God Bless America by Irving Berlin, My Country 'Tis of Thee, Francis Scott Key.
Right.
And on and on and on. And these things, I think a lot of these songs we revered and had a sense of deference to for the longest time. And now they're seen as sort of, out of touch or out of place
Is
or
it me? Am I
something
old?
for the old fogies. And I think they're more relevant, pertinent, and important than ever, and we need to stress them from generation to generation. Otherwise, you start to lose that national cohesion just a little bit each year, just a little bit in an incremental way. And so, no, I don't think you're a fuddy-duddy. I don't think you're an old fart by bringing this up. I think it's apt and appropriate.
I went to when the local coverage was done. I flipped over because one of the channels was bringing me the NBC New York City broadcast from East River between Manhattan and Brooklyn, and they were playing, as I swear to you, they had the John Philip was right there. So it's not just me, and I'm watching the camera work, and I know it's New York, and I know they're the end all be all, but they must have spent like 20 times what Seattle spent on the fireworks show. And the TV coverage was epic. There were drone shots. Everything was beautifully framed and timed and choreographed, like the TV producer had actually gotten an idea of what was going to play when. And the local coverage was just left me just so jealous and lacking and doubting that was still my country. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's me.
Well, and thankfully there were no people, at least no reports that I'm aware of individuals that were harmed at the Lake Union show.
Not there.
But that's not the case
Not
for the
there,
rest of
but
the
boy,
region.
Boy, did we act up.
My
as
goodness,
a region.
Harborview had dozens of people admitted for injuries due to fireworks. At least one person lost a hand. There was a UW frat house that was damaged, apparently, allegedly, by fireworks. And bringing it back to my experience again, when we had all the fireworks ready to set off at the party I was at, I rounded up all the kids, and yes, I was that dad and uncle.
Good.
And I said, kids, you need to have equal parts fear of these things and equal parts enjoyment.
Yes.
And that's another theme that I find myself saying over and over to my children, whether it's swimming, trampolines, ATVs, scooters, riding your bike, climbing anything.
Respect.
You
Fear
have to
of- amount of-
respect the
yes,
activity.
yes.
And in order to fully enjoy it, you have to appreciate the fact that this thing, if wielded the wrong way, you could lose a few fingers. You could even, in extreme circumstances, lose your life. Now, let's go about setting these things off very carefully. And so where do you fall in this whole like safety freedom thing when it comes to fireworks around the region, Spike? It seems like injuries only escalate year over year.
Because we lose our respect for these. We lose our fear of these very dangerous toys and entertainment tools of fireworks. 21 people were hand injuries, 14 eye injuries reported at Harborview. Several families were displaced, 12 different families displaced from their homes because of fires, not just at the U, but all over the place.
We did sparklers where we were at, and my wife was just waving around a sparkler. A part of it burnt off and got caught under her bracelet.
Okay.
She has what looks like a third-degree burn under
she does have a third-degrry
her
burn.
bracelet, which is wild.
Sometimes the adults need to hear this message more than the kids. One of my very favorite cousins used to have the massive display where he'd fill the entire back of the SUV up. He'd spend $1,000+ up at Boom City, and this was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to know what fireworks cost these days. Inflation hits us all in every aspect of
It's
our
insane.
lives. He would literally. He tended to drink while he fireworked, and it got to be, you can't. Adults need to be the responsible ones, but they need to remember too. It's on us as adults. He had a T-shirt that said, "Remember, kids, let the drunken adults handle the fireworks." No, it's a joke. It's not to be followed like the letter of the law. And when a mortar tipped over and shot around through the window of his kid's bedroom, and we had to go inside and put the drapes out, it was time to stop.
Well, and luckily
Time to
it was only
stop.
that bad.
Right. It was
you
that.
know.
Have you seen the video? I know we're not allowed to play a lot. We have to be careful what we play on our YouTube stream with regard to videos that we play because I want to be respectful, and honor copyright laws and all these things. That I don't want to get the legal department on our tails. There's a video, very famous video of a family enjoying the 4th of July, and the kids and the grandparents and everybody's on the chairs in the lawn and they're in a cul-de-sac and it's safe and they're being careful, except that, they've got an open SUV, much like my cousin did, an open SUV with the tailgate up and the entire cache of fireworks to go as the show is choreographed and timed out beautifully to go with the sunset and the music is playing. And the mortar tips over and shoots one right into the back of the car.
I've seen that one.
You've seen this video. The thing's got millions of views because the entire car explodes.
And it turns into like Vietnam for 20 seconds.
People are running for their lives in a home show. So where do I fall in the safety factor? Count my fingers today. They count to 10. We made a joke last week. The over-under on losing fingers this weekend was 9.5. That's not just a joke. It's true. And I think they went over this weekend. Somebody lost a whole hand. That's 5 right there. That's 5 right there. I'm just saying. The 4th of July is a magical day, and I hope you all had a wonderful holiday weekend. I hope you all stayed safe and your property's intact this morning. And whoever did the 4th of July Seattle King 5 Seafair fireworks show, I hope that you hear me say that let's not eschew the traditional, patriotic, big band, John Philip Sousa, Ray Charles, whomever it may be.
You're just saying reassess and we can do better. And really, that's the heart of America.
It is. Let's not forget where we came from.
Making this a more perfect union.
Thank you very much, Greg. I love you, buddy. Greg Tomlin's in for Jake Skorheim, who is enjoying the week with friends and family. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about another 4th of July tradition. Competition. What makes America great. Championships. And eating.
Stuffing wet hot dogs and bread down your throat.
When they all come together, we'll tell you about a reigning champ's return to glory when we come back.
This hour is brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino.
You listen to Charlie and Manda on Seattle's Morning News every morning. What do they listen to every afternoon?
I listen to John all the time when I'm driving home, driving my kids around.
I also listen to the John Curley Show, and even by the end of the day, I still like to keep my brain active, and he's very good at doing that.
John, first of all, is hilarious. I never know where this dude is coming from.
The perfect bookends to your daily commute with KIRO News Radio on 97.3 FM and the KIRO Newsradio app.
Homeowners, protect your biggest investment now with Integrity Roofing and Construction. Get ahead of the summer rush. Okay, call now. Integrity is your family-owned, award-winning roofing and construction company. They're ready to give your home the protection it deserves. It's your biggest investment, certainly mine. Integrity offers a complete in-house construction division for all your projects. Integrity Roofing, known for top-notch service and on-site project management that makes every process easy. Beat the summer rush. Call Integrity today at 206-202-ROOF. That's 206-202-ROOF. Or online at integrityrc.com.
Cold is leaking and rocks are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
An illegal alien from Guatemala charged with raping a child in Massachusetts. An MS-13 gang member from El Salvador accused of murdering a Texas man. A Venezuelan charged with filming and selling child pornography in Michigan. These are just some of the heinous migrant criminals caught because of President Donald J. Trump's leadership. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Under President Trump, attempted illegal border crossings are at the lowest levels ever recorded, and over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. If you are here illegally, you're next. You will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. You will never return. But if you register using our CBP Home app and leave now, you could be allowed to return legally. Do what's right. Leave now. Under President Trump, America's laws, border, and families will be protected.
Sponsored by the United States Department of Homeland Security.
Hi, it's John Curley. Longevity Medical Clinic is your best plan for long-term well-being and personalized health care. Dr. Mixon, let me ask you a question. How long have some of your patients been working with you?
And we've got patients now that have been with us for over 20 years that are in their 90s who came to us in their 60s. The grandparents now in their 90s are living independently. They're not on walkers, they're not on canes, they're not headed for nursing homes.
I meet people and they ask about, wow, you're in great shape. You have 12% body fat and stuff. What's the secret? I said, it's not a secret. Longevity Medical Clinic has been there for 25 years. There is no secret to the fact that if you make those small changes, you avoid the big, bad, horrible stuff that most of us just think, well, this is what's supposed to happen to me.
And if you're heading downhill and you don't change your direction, you're going to continue going downhill. And what we do at Longevity is we redirect you and we take you back up the hill.
So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
The summer warehouse clearance sale is on now at Bob's Heating. We have an overstock of 2024 cooling equipment and everything must go. Save 30% on all 2024 air conditioners and heat pumps while inventory lasts. Once these units are gone, they're gone. So now is your chance to save. As temperatures start to heat up, we'll help you cool down with our summer warehouse clearance sale. Call Bob's for your free estimate today.
Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning. Call Bob.
Roof now, pay later. No payments until 2027. Zero down, zero payments, and zero interest for up to 24 months. Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors here. Since 1968, we've helped homeowners just like you get beautiful, durable roofs without breaking the bank. Book today and lock in summer pricing before it's too late. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com to schedule your free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Crawl space and attics are not places you want to spend much time, but many homes in our area can have serious issues behind the hatches. Hi, it's the owner of Crawl Pros, Richard Herron. For years, you've heard us talking about how we go where you don't want to. With our free corner-to-corner inspection to keep your crawl space and attic well insulated and free of mold and water. You've also heard about the pest control division of our company to keep your home bug and critter free. I'm excited to tell you about our newest division, Plumber Pros. Plumber Pros takes the same customer-first approach to plumbing that we do with our crawl space, attic, and pest control work. We've handpicked skilled plumbers that I know you'll feel comfortable inviting into your home. So next time you run into plumbing issues, from leaky faucets and clogged drains to full home repipes and sub pump installations, call Crawl Pros and we'll get our plumbing division, Plumber Pros, out to get it resolved. For anything related to your crawl space, attic, pest control, or plumbing, call Crawl Pros or visit us at crawlpros.com.
Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens has given me back clear vision. They've performed over 80,000 successful lens replacement surgeries. At Sharp Vision, you'll get the best price combined with the best experience. Sharp-vision.com. That's sharp with an E, -vision.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning. I'm Heather Bosch.
We need your prayers.
The mayor of Kerrville, Texas, there, at least 95 people now confirmed dead from flooding in the central part of the state. Among the victims, more than 24 girls camping along the Guadalupe River. CBS's Jason Allen.
We were able to make it down the road to Camp Mystic, and you could see and understand in that moment why it was so difficult to escape. There's a large building on the property. It's the size of a huge barn, and the entire front was blown out. You could see that the doors were not on cabins and windows were not intact. Everything from the grounds was gone.
Texas U.S. Senator Ted Cruz.
There will naturally be a process of looking back and assessing, okay, how could this disaster have been averted? And I will say as a dad, it is frustrating that those girls were not out of harm's way earlier.
One person is confirmed dead, 2 people missing after flash flooding in Chatham County, North Carolina. Hundreds had to be rescued from high water. Authorities in McAllen, Texas say a 27-year-old man opened fire on a Customs and Border Protection office this morning.
Not sure how many rounds that were fired by the suspect in this case. They said, quote, many dozens of rounds fired by the suspect towards the building and towards agents in that building.
CBS's Chanel Call says one McAllen police officer was wounded. The suspect died in a shootout with federal agents. New Trump tariffs are supposed to kick in this week. CBS's Natalie Brand reports.
The president says that letters are going out to up to 15 trading partners, and it seems that the aim of these letters are to get countries to kind of move things along, as the Treasury Secretary said, or face those steeper tariffs that were announced back in April. The reciprocal tariffs, as the administration has called them.
The White House is indicating the deadline might be moved to August 1st for countries willing to negotiate. A new study shows the benefits of a 4-day week.
A UK campaign group called the 4-Day Week Foundation organized a 6-month trial to look at the impacts of a shorter work week for about 1,000 UK employees. Here's what they found out. Companies reported higher revenue with fewer sick days taken, and all 17 companies participating ended up keeping the shorter work week.
Tariff talk has spooked Wall Street. The Dow is down 523 points, the Nasdaq off 205. From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk, you have a 2-hour wait to catch a ferry at the Kingston Terminal. In Renton, a disabled vehicle is blocking a lane on northbound I-405 near Northeast 30th Street. Still slow through Bothell, southbound on 405 due to an earlier crash. And you're crawling on I-5 southbound near JBLM. Travel time Tacoma to Olympia, 73 minutes. That's 40 longer than usual. Traffic brought to you by KIRO Newsradio. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Sunshine with highs in the low 80s. It is 75 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill, sitting with Greg Tomlin. And before we move on to our competition and our newly crowned returning champion from, of course, Coney Island's Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest, Greg, you told me before the show, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it during our 4th of July recap, that you had spent a couple moments during the America's birthday with a couple of British nationals. Still bitter?
No,
and
not
having
still
spotted
bitter.
us a 13-colony lead and blown it.
It's been 249 years. Let's let bygones be bygones.
Fair enough. But I was interested. What's their take, as I'm sure it came up, on America in 2025?
So, yeah, as you mentioned, these two British nationals spent the entirety of the day with our family and our extended family. These are two soccer dudes that
Hooligans.
are currently staying with my sister and brother-in-law. And as far as I understand it, they come to America. They visit a bunch of states actually throughout the year, and they help coach and they help put on clinics and stuff.
Oh,
and
awesome!
Americans rely on the British, football expertise to inform American soccer over here. So it was really cool to have them at our party actually. And I've lived long enough now to where I've tried to ease into certain controversial topics in a more diplomatic way.
Well put.
And so what I do, whether it's dealing with British nationals or my own family to a degree, is you sort of ask open-ended questions.
Yes.
Okay? And say, what direction do you want to go with this question? And then it's very enlightening, where people decide to go. And so I asked them, I despise small talk, and I just said, you've been over to the U.S. many times, visited many different states. I said, what's one of the starkest differences between British culture and American culture? And one of the guys thought about it for a while, and it was a very great observation he had, and I think it encapsulates the spirit of America, which still exists to a large degree. And he said, whenever I come here to America, I get the sense that if something needs to be done, Americans do it for themselves. If they think they can make a better mousetrap, if they think they can go out and do it, they're not going to rely on other people. They're going to look within and go out and do it. He said that's distinctly different from what I've experienced in British culture, which is, there's already pre-assigned roles a lot in society. There's systems in place. And if you want to do something, you have to work within the confines of the guidelines, the rules, and the systems and the government that kind of already exists.
Okay.
But America, it's much more, don't rely on your neighbor, don't rely on the government, you go do it.
And as far as your ambition and skill can take you.
And again, that's not an American espousing propaganda. That's a Brit who's making this observation. And I thought that's kind of spot on, because the way I view America is its essence is still liberty, freedom, and opportunity. Like, those are distinct differences between us and other cultures. As far as like political climate and such, they actually didn't choose to go that route too much. We didn't get that much into Trump. Or I asked a little bit about their prime minister, Starmer, over there, and I think that's his name.
I think so, yeah.
Keir Starmer. And I said, what's your take on him? And he said, well, kind of milquetoast, more of a moderate progressive. Again, that's his interpretation. He did say, however, though, that they are dealing with a national identity crisis, which was very interesting. And Starmer's even been talking about this a lot in terms of mass immigration and how there's a upside to that and an extreme downside to that, which is, who are we? If you start to just say, come one, come all, then all of a sudden your heritage, your identity, your culture starts to fundamentally change. And it's sort of a double-sided coin. But what he said is there is no British equivalent to the July 4th. Holiday.
Sure.
No British equivalent to Independence Day. He said, yeah, we have something called St. George's Day, which is a sort of a feast, but not even a lot of people know what it is. And apparently,
have to eat dragon or something. It's horrible.
It was a
and
saint.
They boil it.
There was a saint who died in like the 300s in the Diocletianic persecution. So,
oh, wow. Well, that rolls off the tongue.
And he also said, we don't get together as families as much as he's observed Americans do. And so he was just thrilled that there were nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, uncles, and extended family all together.
Yeah.
He said, I don't experience this very much, and I sort of long for this unity that I see in your family. And so, yeah, it was just really fun and interesting to talk to sort of, an outsider and get their view on all things America.
That's interesting. And it's reassuring, too, because I think he really did boil it down to what is the American experience as far as your ambition and talent will take you. In America, that's a possibility. It's a land of opportunity.
You sort of fail and succeed on your own terms.
For the most part.
And some of that has been compromised, and some of that depends on where you live still and how big or small government is.
And some of it depends upon who you are when you're born. I mean, to be fair, there are institutional and structural limitations on various elements of our society that are undeniable. They're uncomfortable. We'll talk a bit later in the show about schools and teaching kids American history and the value of not sanitizing it for personal feelings. That's coming up, scheduled in the 2 o'clock hour today. But it's interesting because his sense of Britain's loss of national identity, the same arguments are being made here at home. And I know we're going to get to, by the way, Kenny Chesney, Mr. Joey Chestnut ate 70 and a half hot dogs.
You want to talk about national identity?
Yeah, right. I mean, seriously. I'm just going to touch on this because I want to get back to what you're talking about. He didn't beat his personal record, but he beat the second place guy by like 20-some dogs. So he clearing away. Captain Gullett is back and winning at Coney Island.
Do you think he's feeling it this morning?
I hope he's feeling it for the next month because no one should pursue this as a career. The loss of national identity that has become champion in our local politics. It's a plank platform of the MAGA movement. Is who are we as a nation? What immigration has done to the national identity of America? And I would argue that maybe as we are unique in America from any other place in the world, where we decided that we're the first people that we coined the term citizen, basically. Because until the American experiment of democracy, of self-governance, everybody in the world was a subject of some other ruler. And America didn't want a ruler. We wanted to become citizens, self-governing body of citizens with equal rights and equal protection and equal, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the uniqueness of America. And I don't know that we have, while it's being argued that we are losing our national identity, I would think that losing the evolution of our national identity is the essence of America. You always hear the cliche, we are a nation of immigrants. But unless you're an indigenous tribal member of this land, we're all descendant from somebody from someplace else. No matter
Without
what,
question.
Without question. So the American experience, what is America? It is literally, not to cliche the phrase, but a melting pot of everybody who came before us. And people may not like the fact that the stew is changing as various other international elements get dropped into the pot. But that's who we've always been and who we are.
I brought this up before in the past, and some quotes you hear and you memorize and you think about them when big occasions like Independence Day come and go. And I've even said it on these airwaves before, but it bears repeating that St. Augustine said, "A nation is a gathered multitude of rational beings united by the common objects of their love." And so I'm always assessing what are those common objects in modern day America that unite all of us still. Because we like to dwell upon what divides us and how bad our rhetoric has gotten on a partisan basis. And so I constantly ask myself, are there any things anymore that truly unite us at a foundational level that are strong enough to perpetuate the American experiment?
And keep the pillars under this American experiment if we're smart enough not to lose us, to paraphrase poorly Ben Franklin.
But right? I think, unfortunately, those common objects are increasingly entertainment, comfort, pleasure, and distraction.
I'd like to hear what the audience thinks. Give us a text at 888-973-5476. 888-973-5476. What are the things that keep us together and keep us unified, make us American? What do you think they are? We'd love to hear from you.
That transcend political party.
Transcend political party. Just about being American. What do you think of? What does it mean to be an American? What is it that makes us unique in the world, in history? And when we come back, we'll talk about an ending of a pretty good run for a local musician, local icon, multiple member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who's calling it quits after 27 years with his new band. We'll have that when we come back. It's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tomlin. We'll be right back.
You never know what's in store each morning once you hit the road.
We've got a major traffic alert in effect right now.
While you're getting ready every morning, make us part of your routine.
What morning, huh?
Yeah. Got off to an early start.
Just tell your smart speaker to play KIRO News Radio or stream us on the app.
Both directions of I-5 are closed.
We'll help you get where you're going faster.
Maybe bail at 512.
KIRO News Radio. We're on your smart speaker, the app, and 97.3 FM.
Are you looking at senior living options for you or a loved one? If so, you likely have many questions, like, what can I afford? How long will my savings last? And if I run out of money, will I have to move out? If these questions are weighing on you, I'm here to talk you through different solutions. Hi, I'm Amanda from Care Partners Senior Living. At Care Partners, we're focused on offering high-quality, compassionate care at very affordable prices to help stretch and preserve your assets. And if you ever run out of funds and need to convert to Medicaid, you won't have to move. We have vibrant communities throughout Western Washington, Spokane, and Arizona offering independent, assisted living, and memory care. Our caregivers are some of the most loving and genuine people you'll ever meet. Stretch your assets, preserve your estate, and never worry about moving. That's peace of mind in the Care Partners Living difference. Learn more at carepartnersliving.com. Care Partners is excited to announce our newest communities in Port Orchard, Sumner, Snohomish, and North Creek Bothell. Visit carepartnersliving.com.
Spike O'Neill here. Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens gave me back the perfect vision I had up until a few years ago. Now, never need glasses again. Never developed cataracts. Been about 6 months since my RLE surgery. My vision is better than it's ever been in my life. Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens, privately owned, no corporate shareholders or boardrooms. Dr. Sharp built his business on the principle of always strive to over-accomplish, never overprice. Call 425-451-2020 or go online to sharp-vision.com. That's sharp-vision.com. Official eye care providers of Sounders FC.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Seattle Children's is leading the fight against pediatric cancer with groundbreaking research in immunotherapy. It reprograms a child's own T cells to hunt down and destroy cancer. It's hope, powered by science. But here's the truth. Pediatric cancer research is drastically underfunded. That's why Safeway is stepping up, and you can too. G. Scott here asking you to say yes to donating to Immunoheroes next time you're at Safeway checkout. Together, we can help fight cancer for all kidkind.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rureka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com. It's a new year, but many seniors are struggling with the same old problem: high prices and rising property taxes. We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, and he says a reverse mortgage may be the answer.
Many seniors cannot afford to stay in the home they love. A reverse mortgage gives them access to equity in their home without having to sell. They can pay off their mortgage if they have one and maybe pull some extra cash out of their home. And best of all, they have no mortgage payment the rest of their life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage, the VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Get lower home energy bills, cleaner air, and year-round comfort with AeroSeal duct sealing, starting at just $99 for PSE customers replacing their furnace or heat pump. Visit HomeComfortAlliance.com.
You probably know Valentine Roofing for, well, roofing. But did you know they do much more than just roofing? If you need anything addressed on your siding, gutters, attic insulation, or even exterior cleaning, give them a call. That's what I did. Hey, Jake Skorheim here. I had a huge moss problem. So while I was at work, Valentine Roofing came out, they got rid of the moss, and they cleaned up like they were never there. Afterward, I got a link with all the details and photos showing my roof now looking like new. Schedule your free estimate today by calling Valentine Roofing at 206-ROOFING or online at valentineroof.com.
There he is. Welcome back, everybody. It's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tomlin. That is the stylish thumpings of Matt Cameron. Matt Cameron of formerly now of Pearl Jam. 27 years. I don't know. It's been 27 years since Matt Cameron sat in with his buddies of Pearl Jam. Matt Cameron, of course, from Soundgarden fame.
Yeah, joined Soundgarden in 1986, joined Pearl Jam in 1998, went on the Soundgarden reunion tour in 2010. You know some of his famous beats from songs like Black Hole Sun, Spoon Man, The Fixer from Pearl Jam. He was also on Temple of the Dog's debut album. That was sort of like that was like a grunge supergroup.
It was a tribute to the late Andrew Wood. Chris
Cornell, Eddie Vedder, I'm Going Hungry.
You know, Eddie was in town for about a week. When that album was recorded, had just come to town, had sent the tape in to Pearl Jam, and wrote some lyrics to some musical tracks they sent him down to San Diego. Yeah, that was my era, baby. I was in town.
If you haven't done this already, go listen to the isolated drum track for Black Hole Sun. And Matt Cameron is just a madman genius on that album, and particularly on that track. His drumming sound is the sound of an era and a sound of the Pacific Northwest for decades and decades. And the news today that he's leaving Pearl Jam. I read the statement, and I don't recall like an exact reason for the departure. Spike, did you garner or like a main reason for it?
I read Matt's statement that I'm leaving after 27 years. My dearest friends, my brothers in arms, as it were, and Pearl Jam's response to that, saying he is always going to be a dearest friend and one of the most great musical talents of our generation. There was no reason given why Matt was stepping away.
Here's the thing you and I were talking about in the pre-show meeting. As we're both musicians, both singers, I'm also a guitar player.
That's where we separate, because you are a musician. I am not.
Hey, you can carry a tune. I've heard you with the Impalers.
Yes, but I own more. I don't know if a singer's a musician. I don't know if I go.
Really?
I don't know if it goes that far.
Okay.
I own more guitars than I know number of chords.
You're
I can
a vocalist.
honestly tell you that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But we both sort of agreed that it's very hard to replace a lead vocalist. AC/DC did it at one point in time. Van Halen did it.
Yeah.
It's less hard to replace a guitar player, although I think of, again, Eddie Van Halen, Pete Townsend, Jimmy Page.
There are signature guitarists. The band would not be the same without.
What about drummers? Now,
dime a dozen.
Well, I don't know.
Wouldn't call them musicians either.
Matt Cameron, though, had a pretty unique sound.
I'm kidding, because I know our drummer, Jeff Cathan, listens to the show religiously. He knows I'm kidding, because the guy has thrown drumsticks at the back of my head before.
But you're being a little hyperbolic. But there is, I mean, maybe Ringo Starr couldn't be replaced because he has a very unique style.
Yeah.
Would you put Matt Cameron in that category of can't be replaced? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but I think it's an interesting question to blow
I think it's a fair statement to make that Pearl Jam won't be the same, couldn't be the same without Matt Cameron at the kit. But that being said, bands evolve and different drummers. You know, the Foo Fighters, when they lost Taylor Hawkins, decided that it was not the time to shelve the band, and they brought in a new drummer, and I forget the gentleman's name, but he has since been dismissed from the band. So it's hard. Not just anybody can sit in with bands where the percussion, the drummer, is such a key component of the band.
Well, and here's the behind the scenes look behind the curtain that I think you and I would both agree upon is only half of being in a band is playing the actual track or playing the actual show. The other half is the person, the hang, the being around them. What kind of spirit do they bring to the table? We talked about national cohesion before. What about band cohesion?
Boy, ain't that the truth.
And the influence they have on just the vibe and the mood of a 4-piece, a 5-piece, you name it, rock band.
I say a good drummer is in a band. A great drummer is in 5 bands.
Oh, explain.
Well, because I know that a lot of drummers that are in a lot of different projects, especially in the levels where you guys who play locally. I know the drummers. My drummer Jeff's in at the current iteration. I think it's 4 different bands, different configurations. Because when a guy can keep a beat, he is in popular demand. And without a guy who can keep a beat, you don't have a band. So my I only speak from the guy I work with every time we play, Jeff Cathan. He works 5-6 days a week if he will allow himself to. He'll be out there 7 days a week because a guy can keep a beat and a guy can keep time, and that's the bedrock of a band. Is a guy, because without a guy who can keep a beat and stay true and
by the way, get into any band practice situation. If the drummer's not feeling the song, it doesn't sail.
Song doesn't
sail.
You're right at all. So thank you, Matt Cameron. Thank you, Matt Cameron, for everything, not just the 27 years with Pearl Jam, but everything you've done for the musical scene, not just in Seattle, but around the world. And we'll try to figure out if we know some inside information as to why the decision was made. But I respect the man and respect the time. Maybe it's time for him just to enjoy the fruits of his labor and garden a little bit. Who knows? Soundgarden, maybe. I don't know. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to Texas and the horrific tragedy that is unfolding down in the state of Texas. And we're not going to be pointing fingers, but it is time to ask questions. We'll have that when we come back. It's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tomlin. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, we've got Wes Jones here of sellwithwes.com. Wes, what if I'm a home seller, but I've got a unique property? Maybe I have a lot of acreage or a horse pasture or a castle and a moat or a house with some sort of unique design. Can you help with that?
If you've got something like that, I definitely want to hear from you guys. You working with unique properties is one of my favorite things to do in real estate. And the reason why is I get to utilize my full arsenal of marketing techniques. We can do aerial photography, we can do video walkthroughs, we can do actual video, we can do target marketing. But one of the unique things that I can do that other realtors don't is some of the access to other media that I can advertise your properties in. The local blogs, Seattle Times, King 5, all of my properties have been featured on programs like those.
That's Wes Jones of sellwithwes.com. He sold a ton of unique properties, and he can sell yours too. Sellwithwes.com. Sellwithwes.com. A better way to sell your home.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This could be the oddest gift anyone's ever given me.
But I'll bet you use it.
When the time is right, I suppose.
That's the idea.
A plunger.
An Apollo plumbing plunger.
Free for me?
Actually, free to everyone we visit.
Because?
We believe some things you can do on your own.
And if this plunger can't fix it?
Apollo Plumbing will.
Just like that.
You call, we come. It's fixed.
Wouldn't you rather I just call?
You're welcome to.
Okay.
But for a simple backup?
Something I can solve myself?
Try your free plunger.
I'll admit it's kind of spiffy.
Apply a little pressure.
And if it still won't clear?
Call Apollo Plumbing.
The ready right now plumbers.
Our big blue trucks come stocked full of fixes.
And a plunger wielding plumber.
A clean screen trained and trustworthy Apollo plumber.
They come in a jiffy.
Arriving when promised to put plumbing problems in your past.
And give me a free plunger.
That too.
You know, I kind of like this plunger.
I'm sure it'll come in handy.
Just like Apollo Plumbing.
ApolloPlumbing.com.
G and Ursula on KIRO News Radio.
You're not going to be able to stop what's going to happen.
I hope he's successful.
9 to noon, streaming live on your smart speaker.
Hi, it's John Curley. Longevity Medical Clinic has been helping people live longer, healthier lives for more than 25 years. I've recently talked with Dr. Mixon about his approach to proactively focusing on prevention. Dr. Mixon, I first met you in 2009, and I went in there and I told you I wasn't feeling well, couldn't gain any muscle mass, couldn't sleep well, I was stressed out, and you looked at me and you said, yeah, I know what your problem is.
And all we did was we measured your values and we moved your values back to those of a nice, healthy 25-year-old man.
I have taken your blood work to my doctor, and he was shocked. He couldn't believe the depth in which you study my blood.
We need to draw a distinction between living a long time and getting old. And that's what longevity is all about, is we are here to do the measurements and help you fix those problems.
So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The death toll in Texas is now 95 from the flooding, and dozens are still missing. Kerrville Mayor Joe Herring.
Primary search continues, and we remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river.
27 of the victims were from a girls' camp. Correspondent Jason Allen.
This was just covered in mud and tree branches, and this is a camp that just sits right up on the banks of the Guadalupe River. This would have been a very difficult spot for them to find any sort of higher ground to run to.
While the recovery efforts continue, assistance has arrived.
Help is pouring into Kerr County, Texas, thanks to volunteers and the Salvation Army.
It is a shock for our community.
Major Phil Swires is with the local chapter.
This for us is personal. We have 2 employees here at the Salvation Army whose house went off the foundation. They lost everything.
He says they're giving out 800 meals a day, 5,000 drinks, and have 4 food trucks for those impacted and for those volunteering.
In a world currently where it just seems everything is so divided, it has been amazing to see this community come together.
Matt Piper, CBS News.
A tropical storm developed and moved inland over the Carolinas this weekend, bringing torrential rains and floods. Jason Wilburn is sheriff in hard-hit Person County, North Carolina.
Born and raised here in Person County, I've seen remnants of hurricanes come through and, strong thunderstorms and produce, flash flooding in the area, but nothing of this magnitude across, especially our western part of the county, with the road closures and the road washouts.
Israel's prime minister is back in Washington to talk with President Trump about Iran and Gaza. Stacey Lynn reports.
This will be a dinner to talk about Operation Midnight Hammer, which was incredibly successful to talk about peace in Gaza and ending that conflict.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says that's the most important priority for the president right now, ending the war in Gaza and returning all the hostages.
A agreeable and appropriate ceasefire proposal has been sent to Hamas.
And she says Special Envoy Witkoff will be traveling to Doha later this week, where he will continue to engage in these discussions. Stacey Lynn, CBS News, the White House.
Ed O'Keefe reports President Trump's been busy alerting trading partners about an August 1st deadline to reach a trade deal.
Pushing all of these deadlines now into the next month. And as he does that today, he will be issuing up to 14 letters to specific countries, laying out the terms of U.S. trade with those countries in the coming years.
On Wall Street, investors were very worried about the trade war escalating again. The Dow finished the day 422 points lower. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
A fatal fire in Kitsap County. The story coming up, but first from the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. You have a 2-hour wait to catch a ferry at the Kingston Terminal. In Renton, a car fire is blocking 2 lanes on northbound I-405. Traffic's backed up to State Route 181. Northbound 167 is backed up to 180th. Travel time Renton to Bellevue, 25 minutes. And it's slow going on I-5 southbound near JBLM. Travel time Tacoma to Olympia, 1 hour and 5 minutes. That's half an hour longer than typical. Traffic brought to you by Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Buy one window or door, get the second at 50% off through July. Visit lakewashingtonwindows.com.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon, I'm Heather Bosch. U.S. Marshals are combing the Idaho backcountry after a possible sighting of fugitive Travis Decker.
In the Bear Creek area of the Sawtooth Mountains, 20 miles due east of Sun Valley, a family tipped off U.S. Marshals they spotted a man matching Decker, including a cream-colored T-shirt, black shorts, black earrings, ponytail, beard, and a mustache. Last week, Chelan County Sheriff Mike Morrison revealed DNA collected at the campsite near Leavenworth, where deputies accused Decker of killing his 3 daughters, is Decker's DNA.
Blood on the back of the tailgate and also the blood on other items there.
Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
1 person died and 5 others were rushed to a hospital after a shooting in Cedro Woolley's Memorial Park over the weekend. This witness tells KIRO 7 TV.
First, I thought it was like kids on the playground. They're running and they're screaming and they're playing. And then when they started yelling, hide, hide, and you could hear the panic.
Police say they arrested 1 person and recovered 2 guns. Kitsap County investigators are working to determine the cause of a fire early Saturday that left a 40-year-old man and his 9-year-old daughter dead. The sheriff's office says someone in the Port Orchard home called 911, and by the time firefighters arrived, the house was engulfed in flames. A lack of water pressure from nearby fire hydrants forced Central Kitsap Fire and Rescue to send in multiple water trucks. Expect big crowds today at SeaTac Airport as travelers head back after their 4th of July holiday. Here's KIRO 7 TV's Brooke Griffin.
Travelers telling us they walked in hoping for the best.
We got TSA pre-check, got my boarding pass. We have everything that we're carrying.
I think we're going to work out pretty good.
Airport officials say June brought several record-breaking departure days, and they expect that to grow through the summer.
Pearl Jam is saying goodbye to a longtime member. Drummer Matt Cameron is leaving the Seattle band after 27 years. In a social media post spotted by the Seattle Times, Cameron writes, "Much love and respect for Jeff, Ed, Mike, and Stone for inviting me into the band in 1998 and giving me the opportunity of a lifetime." Cameron has played for other Seattle area bands too, including Soundgarden. This weather update brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Sunshine today with highs in the low 80s. It's 75 in downtown Seattle. I'm Heather Bosch.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO Newsradio App. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO Newsradio.
Welcome, everybody, to the 1 o'clock hour, Jake and Spike Show. Greg Tomlin's going to sit in with us all week long as Jake Skorheim does attempts what no man has ever been able to do before, reach the pinnacle of Honeydew Mountain. I feel for the guy, man. I tell you what, it's great when you get to take some time away from work and with family. It's restorative. It's time with the kids. Like you mentioned earlier, building memories that last a lifetime.
I think I finally just understood the honeydew joke, and it only took me an hour to process.
Okay.
But I'm right there with you now,
I
lock and step.
want you to know. I'm here to help. The veteran of 36 years of relationship, 34 years of marriage. The honeydew list is not something to be trifled with or taken lightly or just dismissed. That's how it gets so tall. It's one mountain that grows in real time. Back to our show today. It's time to turn our attention to Texas. To Kerr County, Texas, Kerrville, Texas, the scene of this horrific flash flooding disaster that is still unfolding as we speak. The latest updates have raised the death toll in Texas to 95, with still dozens still missing as the search continues. And has been reported in both national and local news, the search will be relentless until every soul is accounted for, every family is able to find closure in this disaster. And it's already started in the news cycle, in the various silos of information that America has decided to climb down into. Regardless of which side you're on, you're probably getting information that is catered to and placates your existing points of view. I know I fall victim to it far too often. I try to consume as much media coverage that I disagree with as possible because I want to just see, first off, if I'm getting a point of view being omitted from my chosen points of information, sources of information. I want to get all sides to every situation. And I've already seen, I'm not even going to give more than 2 seconds of credence to the weather manipulation folks who are already starting to flood social media with the weather manipulation conspiracies about, whether it's cloud seeding or whatever other form. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has instituted legislation that would make weather manipulation a felony. Come on. Ted Cruz was asked about these rumors that are starting to populate social media, and he said, he couched his response that there's a lot of things going around the internet, from what I'm aware of, he started with. I mean, don't even bother with from what I'm aware of. We can't control the weather. And don't get on me about climate change because we can impact the weather. We don't have drones, space drones, cloud seeding, all that stuff. If you enjoy your tin hats, I hope you enjoy making them, or if you buy them in bulk, hope you're getting a good price. Let's talk about the reality of the situation at hand, which is what was on the ground and what struck this community.
Yeah, here's just a couple facts to hit you with here at the outset about the level of devastation that hit Kerr County, Texas here with this flooding. 120 billion gallons of rain fell. Too much water on the ground that couldn't be absorbed.
Right, a hard Earth's place.
Yep.
Where ground saturation isn't a thing. The ground is baked to a hard surface and the water just rolls downhill into these rivers.
The river rose up to 26 feet in less than 90 minutes. Yeah. A lot of times in light of these natural disasters or any kind of devastating moment or tragedy, human nature is to start playing the blame game. This is a crass comparison, but sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Sometimes a disaster is just that, a disaster. Before the storms, I've read that there was extra staff on duty at the National Weather Service. That's according to the AP, not exactly a conservative or Trumpian news outlet. There were warnings that were disseminated, broadcast, telecast, you name it. 12 hours before the storm hit, flash flood warnings were issued. Should the camp where all the girls were at have been preemptively evacuated? I think absolutely, but hindsight is 2020. This area has been prone to flash flooding for many years. There's a story online. This river has experienced major floods in 1936, 52, 72, 73, 78, 87, 91, and 1997. This latest flash flood is being compared to the devastating flash flood that happened in 1987 that also hit a summer camp that killed 10 teenagers at the Pot of Gold Christian Camp near Comfort, Texas. And I mean, of course, there will be a gathering of evidence and accounting of what happened here after the fact. Could things have been done better? How much should the federal government be involved on the local level? Those are ongoing conversations that we're going to have till the end of time, as long as the United States of America exists. States' rights, states' governments, local governments, and then how much agency or personal responsibility does each person or entity have in that equation? I think those are important conversations to be had. I think it's hard not to devolve into a partisan blame game, though, because the sad truth is the political class likes to assign blame to the other side when it's advantageous to do so, even in horrific acts of God or acts of nature, whatever you want to call it, like this is.
Yeah, and oftentimes this spun information, selective information, sometimes even disinformation or misinformation is weaponized. And I hate to keep using that term, but it seems to be the case. People are already saying, well, there were cuts and firings and resignations in the National Weather Service that have led to not a debilitating, but a sizable decrease in the forecasting abilities and the communication abilities of the National Weather Service. And I'm not pointing fingers at the Trump campaign. I'm really not blaming the Trump campaign for this. As you said, there was extra staff on site for this. But you got to ask yourself, if there's not as many weather balloons being raised for forecasting purposes, is the most accurate forecast available? And even if a forecast of what was actually to come, which is a hard thing to do, it's hard to get it right with weather forecasting. I understand that and respect that. Information was shared to these communities. Was there enough time? Obviously not. But they were relying in this particular Kerr County, Texas. You had mentioned the repeated history of flooding along this river corridor, where in Texas there's not a lot of fun things to do. And river camping is a mainstay of the Texas way of life. There are literally dozens of camps, as news will show us, dozens of camps along this river, because that's how people spend summers and make memories and live in the Texas flatlands of South Central Texas.
Well, and I think this phenomenon exists everywhere in that there is a collective muscle memory in terms of risk calculation.
Yes,
yes. And I want to expand on that a little bit. So this type of event is not totally uncommon for Kerr County, especially in the summer months, given the amount of thunderstorms and so on that occur there. I've been struck by some of the images I see on television of one of the main bridges in Kerr County. Even at the height of the flooding here at 26 feet, the flooding doesn't touch the bridge. So in other words, the bridge is at such a height where they're accounting for incidents like this that might occur along the way.
Learn from history,
okay,
sure.
And I want to localize this phenomenon of collective muscle memory for a moment and talk about the bomb cyclone that happened here in the Pacific Northwest back in November 2024, just a few months ago, right? Mm-hmm. The morning after it happened, I was outside talking to my neighbor just about we've never seen anything like this before. It's incredible. And our power was out. And I talked to my neighbor and I said, boy, I think the power might be out for 3 to 5 days. I mean, and he said, you know what? I've lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. We've never lost power for more than a day. I think it's going to be on within 24 hours.
Right.
And why did he say that? Because of the muscle memory of whenever we lose power, it usually typically comes back on. So I think what the community, to some degree, I don't know how big or how small, might have thought, hey, we've experienced flash flooding before. We've got the warnings. This one might be particularly bad, but we've weathered the storm, so to speak, in the past, and oftentimes reports are wrong, and so this might be bad, but it might not be catastrophic, and then nature had other plans.
Well, let me ask a couple quick questions then.
That's wild speculation, but do you see my point?
But and I don't want to become the global warming conspiracy theorist, but it seems to me it's safe to say that weather extremes have become more of the norm than the extreme, whether it's extreme heat, whether it's massive wildfires, whether it's flash flooding, whether it's bomb cyclones, whether it's tornadoes and far beyond tornado season. It seems to me that extreme weather is going to become a more common thing moving forward. Is now the time to cut weather forecasting capabilities of the federal government? I mean, that's I don't really, but just something to think about as we make these blanket cuts across agencies to make this grandiose, performative, cutting wasteful government, whether it's wasteful government or not. Because I would argue that none of the National Weather Service, because what was cut not just as employees, but the ability to gather information through weather balloons, the ability for those who still do work at the National Weather Service to travel to various communities to communicate one-on-one with local organizations, state governments who have coordinating policies and programs and teams. The Trump administration has limited travel expenses for the National Weather Service. So these remaining employees, and they're, for the most part, it's still intact. And there were staff on site for this particular situation, but that's not always going to be the case. There are many weather agencies across the country now, federal weather agencies, who are dark from midnight to 8 a.m. because of staffing cuts that aren't monitored 24 hours a day. These kind of things seem to be becoming more regular.
I think the tension at the heart of this discussion is, should anything and everything be the business of the federal government? A hallmark of conservative thought for the longest time is states, by and large, can handle their own business better than the federal government. And so I think you saw this with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which is conservatives lauded the decision by the Supreme Court because it returned the power to the people of the states to make the decisions for themselves, and said abortion was never supposed to be this federal issue. It's not even in the Constitution. Let the states and locales deliberate and then decide upon the legality of it on their own terms. And in terms of this posture towards FEMA and national disaster response, it's, should this flooding in Kerr County be more a federal issue, or should it be the business of Kerr County, the surrounding areas, and the state of Texas?
I would hope as a nation it would be a national issue. I would be happily to use my tax dollars in the state of Washington, which puts in more than it gets back, and one of the few states that do that in this country. Far too often states take more than they give the federal government. That's not the issue. My tax dollars should be spent on making sure that citizens of North Carolina or Florida or Texas or Louisiana or Ohio,
so the onus
get what
is
they need.
So you think the onus of regular hurricanes for people who choose to live in Florida should be somehow, some of that bill should be fronted by the people in Washington state who have our own potential natural disaster to deal with in terms of a potential earthquake that might hit this area? You think we should all pool together in a regional sense, but that's disparate and disproportionate to areas of the country that don't go through those national disasters then.
Agreed.
So why should they have to fit the bill for people to choose to live in places where they might get a more common occurrence of bad weather events?
Well, because sometimes we are a nation with national needs. And I'll quote a TV show, Florida didn't beat Germany in World War II. It took all of America to do that. I would think that Americans care about their neighbors, whether it's my fault or not. I want my dollars to go help the people of Kerr County, Texas right now. You talk about the frequency of flooding along that river in Kerr County. In 2017, there was a flood, and they realized that an early warning system would be advantageous to help save lives. And that system was too expensive for the county, and they voted against putting an early flash flood warning system in Kerr County, Texas.
But then so it's on the county. That's their call.
That's when a national service should come in and say, you know what, if you're going to become if a way of Texas life is to spend summer along the rivers in south central Texas, then the federal government should have a responsibility to make sure that those citizens, even though their county can't afford it alone, are safe enough that we don't have disasters like today to deal with. Yes, I think there's a national need for caring about our fellow citizens, regardless of where they live. I'm with you. People who live in hurricane zones and keep rebuilding year after year after year after wonder, you got to say, why am I still paying for this? But that's, what, we're going to have fires up here, wildfires up here in California. We're going to have wildfires. That's not the responsibility of the folks in New York State, but they're helping me pay for it, helping my government pay for the response and the recovery of these natural disasters. Yeah, I'm all for national responses to emergencies, regardless of where they fall in the United States.
And I know it sounds pithy and a little silly, but there's a reason it's called Uncle Sam. It's your uncle, not your daddy. And I think the more we have this posture of looking towards either the head of the executive branch or the big national government to be able to swoop in and fix it when different jurisdictions, locales make decisions for themselves that might even be to their own detriment, I think it, well, again, this is a fundamental difference in philosophy of government here. I think things should become more local in essence. And you're saying there are many instances, if not more than none, that should be handled by the big national government that comes in and says, we know better.
Sometimes, not that we know better, that we can help more. States can't be, for Trump, and I didn't want to go down this road, but to say that that disaster and emergency services should be the responsibility of the state, that's an unfunded mandate. You know, the states don't have these resources to do that. If there's federal tax dollars collected, then it should be used for federal needs, not just for the defense spending or for tax breaks for billionaires or whatever flavor of the donors' flavor of the month legislation gets pushed through the Congress. I mean, I guarantee you most of the people in America don't want to see tax breaks for big corporations and billionaires. That's not what anybody voted for, regardless of what they're telling us on TV, most of the channels you tune into. I think national disaster relief is a part of being who you are as an American. Yeah, I totally believe that. And if it's Uncle Sam because of U.S., if it was Daddy Sam, DS, that's the divided states of America. I like how you set that up for me. It's the United States. And Uncle Sam, the government isn't my daddy, but they keep taking my money. They're my landlord. And
they should take less of it, I would argue.
Well, maybe so, but if they do take it, they ought to make sure that my place works and it's not fire dangerous. And it's my house. If I'm paying, rent to the United States with my tax dollars or mortgage money, then I want my house to be flooded out and fixed when it happens because I've been paying you the whole time.
Yeah, and again, it's an important discussion that should be had and that we're having right now. For people that live in Texas, it's much more personal. It's much more relational. It's much more.
It should be just as personal for you, though.
Well, sure.
And I'm not saying
it's my fellow Americans.
I know you're a guy with a big heart.
And it's my fellow people of faith, too, because I ascribe to the faith that
absolutely
this camp
I know who you are. I know what's in your heart, man. And so I hate to see
it's every parent's worst nightmare, right? You send your kid off and they don't come home. And it's just devastating, and it raises a whole lot of existential, philosophical questions. And they're going through it right now down south.
And was there there were extra people on staff? There were warning systems that were in place that were used to the extent of their capabilities before this tragedy. But they've relied on a word-of-mouth system in this particular river stream, or this river system, where upriver, when you hear things, you call or you send notice to the people downstream from you. And maybe that system wasn't adequate enough to prevent this disaster. And maybe no system would be. It's hard to predict 2 months' worth of rain in 90 minutes, which is what Texas got. And again, it seems to me that's becoming more the norm. They keep saying it's once-a-century flood, but it happens every 2 years now. These once-a-century floods or these once-a-century storms that are happening with far too much frequency to now choose to leave states on their own for recovery or leave weather systems and weather forecasting and weather notifications of a national weather service, ailing and needing resources and materials to make sure people are as safe as they could possibly be. We got a couple minutes left, I think, or at least a minute or two. Let's turn some attention to some of we talked about what makes people an American. Mm-hmm. The people who stepped up, and the one gentleman, the responder, the emergency responder.
Oh, the Coast Guard rescue efforts here, the heroism, the courage, the bravery here to airlift people out of affected regions.
Fly into the storm to rescue our fellow citizens. Or the two counselors at Camp Mystic, two 19-year-old Latina counselors who saved 20 girls, who did everything they could possibly do to make sure that their charges at camp were as safe as possible.
And I listened to this interview with Scott Ruskin, who I believe works for the Coast Guard, and he might be responsible for the saving of at least 160 people, which is just astounding. And it's amazing to listen to him speak about just saying, hey, this was my duty. This is what I signed up for. This is why I joined the Coast Guard.
This isn't
so it wasn't some extraordinary act. No. Like I had training for this, and I went in and I did my job, and that's America, baby.
And that is the norm. That is not the exception. That is the rule for Americans. That's what we do. That's what makes us Americans. to step up in moments of need. And I think financially, as much as physically, that's what we do. Greg Tomlin's in for Jake Skorheim this week, all week long. It's going to be a great week. We're off to a great start. We've had a wonderful time so far. Lots more to come today. As we continue the show, coming up after the break, we'll turn attention to something much more lighthearted, much more local and close to home. All-Star Game's right around the corner, and the M's are going to be well represented. We'll talk about it next. Don't go anywhere.
This hour is brought to you by Insulation Northwest.
You listen to John Curley every afternoon. What does John listen to every morning?
Here's how I start my morning. Get my pot of coffee going, and then I turn on Seattle's Morning News. I listen to Charlie and Amanda. This is how I prep for my show, because I know those guys have, hundreds of years of experience, although Amanda looks better than Charlie. I'm going to get the straight news.
Experience matters. Seattle's Morning News, weekday mornings 6 to 9 on KIRO News Radio, 97.3 FM, and the KIRO News Radio app.
Did you know that over the past 10 years, home values have increased the most during the first quarter of the year? So how much is your home worth right now? Check it out instantly at sellwithwest.com. Sure, there are other apps out there you can use, but most of them are national companies. If you want local expertise, someone who actually knows what's happening with the housing market in your neighborhood, there's no one more local than Wes Jones. If you're even thinking about making a move in 2025, go to sellwithwest.com, sellwithwest.com, and start by using their free home value calculator to see what your home is worth. It might be worth more than you think. You'll get so much more than just a number from Wes Jones. We're talking about recent sales in your neighborhood, the market temperature in your city, side-by-side comparisons of multiple online estimates. You can even calculate how much equity you have, and even a breakdown of how your home's value has changed over time. So here's what you have to do. Go to sellwithwest.com, type in your address, and bam, you'll have instant access to all of this and more. It's fast, easy, it's local. Sellwithwest.com, a better way to sell your home.
Seattle Children's is leading the fight against pediatric cancer with groundbreaking research in immunotherapy. It reprograms a child's own T cells to hunt down and destroy cancer. It's hope, powered by science. But here's the truth. Pediatric cancer research is drastically underfunded. That's why Safeway is stepping up, and you can too. G. Scott here asking you to say yes to donating to Immunoheroes next time you're at Safeway checkout. Together, we can help fight cancer for all kidkind.
Progressive knows we all crave validation.
Girl, you are not 37.
I would have guessed 27.
You guys are too sweet.
Sure, dewy skin. Terrific.
Is something wrong, Ned?
Why would you ask? Just because today marks my 10th anniversary without a car accident or even a speeding ticket? But somehow, tonight's all about your skincare.
Wow. With Snapshot from Progressive, you can get a personalized rate based on how you drive. And that's all the validation you need. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
I'm here with Jonathan from DUI Heroes to discuss an easy mistake to make when you get pulled over for DUI.
You don't have to perform voluntary tests like the standardized field sobriety tests or the voluntary preliminary breath test out on the roadside. They're voluntary by nature, which means you can simply say no thank you. You also can ask to speak with a lawyer immediately.
Which is where DUI Heroes comes in. 1-800-DUI-HERO or DUIHeroes.com, your DUI defense specialist.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Hey, that's the spirit. Right now, we're celebrating free with a free STP oil filter when you buy 5 quarts of oil and free Duralast brake pads when you buy 2 rotors. Like always, free battery testing, charging, and recycling at every store. Celebrate free at AutoZone, now through July 28th.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit revivemenshealth.com.
Worried about your aging parents' bathroom? You can convert that old tub into a walk-in shower with Bathfitter. Custom fit, installed in just one day with 0% interest for 24 months. Call Bathfitter now or visit bathfitternw.com.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Granillo. Those catastrophic floods across central Texas have now claimed at least 95 lives. They include 27 kids and staff members at a summer camp. Phil Swires is with the Kerr County Salvation Army.
We are feeding the over 1,000 emergency workers that have joined our county in helping with this crisis.
Hundreds of volunteers are also stepping up. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey reports at least 2 are local American Red Cross volunteers.
Those Red Cross volunteers will be making sure people impacted by the flooding in Texas have a safe place to stay, food to eat, and the medical and mental health support they need. Will McMahon tells KIRO 7 TV he's volunteered in other disasters, and he's seen the very best in humanity during the worst times.
It's because of the individuals that pitch in all sorts of different ways all the time.
Volunteers from multiple states are heading to Texas. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
Turning now to the closing bell report as President Trump announces a 25% tax on goods imported from Japan and South Korea. CBS's Stacey Lynn reports from the White House.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in addition to these 2 countries,
there will be approximately 12 other countries that will receive notifications and letters.
She says the president is also signing an executive order today,
delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st.
This applies to all countries who are set to get a tariff increase.
The president and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American worker. That's what they're focused on.
Stacey Lynn, CBS News, the White House.
Costco is recalling nearly a dozen products due to safety and health risks. Items include air conditioners with mold concerns, Michelin tires that could fail on the road. Also recalled are Bowflex dumbbells, Ninja air fryers, and fresh and ready sandwiches with possible listeria. For the full list, visit mynorthwest.com. At the close today on Wall Street, investors spooked by all this tariff news. The Dow lost 422, S&P down 49, NASDAQ off 188. Now to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk Support brought to you by Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Just cleared a crash in Northgate on southbound I-5 at 130th. Was blocking the HOV lane, still seeing some residual backups in a 25-minute drive from Linwood to Seattle. Incidents on northbound 405. This is just south of 169. It is now blocking just the northbound HOV lane. But we are seeing some pretty big backups right now from right around South Center all the way to that incident scene. Also seeing the backups now build on 167 northbound approaching 405. Bellevue to Renton Drive taking you 31 minutes. Tacoma to Olympia 51. And Renton to Puyallup is about 34 minutes. Lake bridges are good. So is the drive up north into Everett. Upgrade your view with Lake Washington Windows. Buy one window or door. Get the second at 50% off through July. Visit lakewashingtonwindows.com for details. Forecast now brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Sunny the next couple of days. Highs in the low to mid 80s. Right now 78 and sunny in downtown Seattle. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill with Greg Tomlin. And Aaron Grinnell, we've asked to join us for this break. Aaron Grinnell is going to sit in as our Mariner master, resident Mariner aficionado, expert. Maybe the biggest baseball fan I know, so if you don't mind, Aaron. This Cal, how do you say the last name?
Raleigh? Not a household name in the O'Neill home?
Yeah. Come on. So the All-Star team was announced. Reserves were announced yesterday afternoon. Raleigh, of course, already been named the American League starting catcher. Mm-hmm. He's the home run leader with 35. Major League, not just Mariner, Major League home run leader at 35. And three other Mariners joined. Julio, Brian Wu, and Andres Munoz.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
So it's a great representation. The most Mariners have been elected to the All-Star team since 2018, if my memory serves.
That sounds right.
Where are the Mariners? They just pitched 3 shutouts. Pittsburgh came to town for 3 and didn't score a run.
Yeah. So that's the first time that's happened for the Mariners. Funny, the Pirates were hot coming into the series, too. They had just swept the Cardinals. They didn't allow a run to the Cardinals, 0-0-0. Then they come here
and get
0-0-0. That's the first time that's happened to them. So some history-making pitching.
Is that a good sign for the Mariners in the second half? Because it's funny,
yeah.
we're still a week away from the All-Star game,
Yeah.
and 6 games left to play, 3 with the Yankees, 3 with the Tigers.
Tough road trip coming up.
You told me that earlier in the day here. I appreciate that.
Yep.
But we're already past the halfway mark. The M's have played 90.
Yeah. They're in a good spot. I mean, they own one of the 3 wild card spots, and it feels like the pitching has finally come around, which we all expected it would. I think the first month and a half, the offense carried the team. Now the offense is sputtering a little bit, I would say, and the pitching has been fantastic. The guys you were counting on turning it around, Luis Castillo has been great the last few outings. George Kirby, phenomenal. 19 whiffs yesterday, that's his most this year on strikes. So I mean, it's been great for the top of the order guys. Logan Gilbert, he's going to be good. And then you're hoping Bryce Miller could come back in the second half of the season and hopefully put together a good run as well.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, at least to me.
Yeah.
And that is the performance of Julio Rodriguez up to this point. A part of me feels bad for the guy, and then the other half of me says never feel bad for a guy worth $200, $300 million. He's batting .247. Only 11 home runs, 43 RBIs. He is a league leader, or at least second place, in a category that you don't want to be a league leader. In terms of MLB baseball player stats left on base, he is second place. Through 90 games, he has left, while he's up to bat, 174 teammates on base.
Yeah.
That's almost 2 per game. Kind of an astoundingly large number to me. What is his current identity? How do we right the ship here? And were you surprised that he was named an All-Star? Is that
his identity,
simply a name
he's
recognition?
An All-Star. What do you need? How much more do you need to know?
Well, I don't know. I thought his stats were rather lackluster to be named to the team. What's your take, Aaron?
I agree with you, Greg. But it is an all-star game, and Julio is a star in a way. For a couple of years there, he was trying to be the face of baseball, and baseball was trying to make him the face of baseball. So he has the name recognition. I think it also goes to show that the American League isn't stacked in the outfield. So there are a couple of guys like George Springer is being talked about as a snub, that he probably could make the team still and probably should have over Julio. What is Julio's identity? Man, I don't know.
He's still searching for it.
I don't know. This is year 4, right? So he's 24. So there's still a lot of time for him to figure it out. I asked, I called in ChatGPT to
the guy knows baseball,
to pinch hit for me today and to help me collate some Julio stats. So I also looked up how is Julio doing in one-run games? I think that tells us a lot about his clutch elements.
Exactly. When there's guys on base, when it's after the 7th inning, when it's a one-run game.
Games.
Yes.
He's batting .215 in one-run games. He's batting about .250 in innings 7 through 9 with a couple of home runs. So the eye test, and I watch a lot of these games, he does not look like an all-star this year. I have watched way, way too many games where he has runners in scoring position, and he takes a pitch that he should swing at, and he swings at a pitch that he shouldn't. The pitch discipline is not there. And if you look,
feels like he's guessing.
If you dive deep into the numbers too, his swing rate is higher than like 60-70% of the league. So he's swinging at a lot of pitches. And if you watch enough Mariners baseball, it's almost like a guarantee he's going to swing at the first pitch also.
Is that something that can be coached out of him? I mean, the guy's been in the league 4 years now. It's not like he's his sophomore slump or something like that. You should learn
It feels like it's more of a mental thing with Julio at this point because you know the talent is there.
Can't you sort of sense it when you see him up to bat too? When there's like two runners on in a clutch situation, I get that look. He wears his emotions on his sleeves. I could see it behind his eyes.
Yeah,
where he's a little like, I need to get this done. This is my moment. And then time and time again, it's that moving pitch that goes away from him that he fishes. And
everybody knows,
strike
man.
three. It's like, why every time?
Breaking ball low and away
breaking
or
ball, yes.
fastball high and tight.
Yes.
That's his calling card.
Is that the pressure trying to live up to the contract? Trying to be the face of
Nobody
people.
knows.
They try to make him the face of baseball. And
I
it's
think
tough for
only
he's still a young man.
Right. I think only Julio can truly answer that. And maybe he can't even answer that, really. But yeah, it feels like he wants it too much. And in a game like baseball or a game like golf, I mean, if you've played those sports, if you try too hard and you swing too hard, you're probably going to miss. And you're going to misfire. And that seems to be what's happening.
Okay,
with Julio.
Aaron, let me tell you about something that's got my goat, if that's the correct thing to say here. The lists that we always see of the players who have hit the most home runs before the All-Star break. I think Cal Raleigh is number 2, second only to Barry Bonds. The other people on that list are Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and fellow Mariners player Ken Griffey Jr. Why is there not an asterisk next to the names of Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa? Because Griffey and Rowley are the only people that weren't juicing to make it to that list. Why don't we talk about the steroid era in proportion to what it really meant and say, hey, yeah, Bonds was juicing and he had biceps that were about 3 feet long.
Yeah.
And that's why he's number 1 on that list. It should be Rowley and Griffey alone at the top of that list.
I got no beef with that, Greg. I'm on your side there.
Well, let me ask you this. To be fair and see both sides of the coin, they've played 90.
Yeah.
They've got 6 to go before the All-Star game. If he breaks this record,
not to mention, you guys, he's going to the Yankee Stadium with that short porch out in right field.
So, but if he's played 96 games, is it fair to compare those numbers for the All-Star break? We're talking about prior to the All-Star break.
Yes, true.
The other guys played, 8 less games, depending on which year it was. So these numbers, shouldn't that be the asterisk? He took 96 games to get to this number?
That and the needle in the butt.
That's the beauty of baseball. Yeah. The beauty of baseball is we can talk baseball, but every minutia, every little tiny every grain of sand for hours on end. Aaron Granillo, thank you so much, my friend. You got it. Truly, I love hanging out and talking baseball with you.
Anytime.
When we come back, Seattle's not a dying city, and we got the numbers to prove it. We'll tell you why right after these.
The closing bell is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Common Sense Lending.
You listen to Seattle's morning news every morning. What do Charlie and Manda listen to every afternoon?
I absolutely love listening to John Curley because he makes you think, which I love.
John has a real special talent in being able to talk about the topics we care about, but he's always trying to make it fun. And you're going, oh, this guy actually gets it.
The John Curley Show, weekdays 3 to 7. Watch The John Curley Show live on YouTube or the KIRO Newsradio App.
Hey, Spike O'Neill for Sharp Vision, Modern LASIK and Lens. Nothing is more important than your eyes. All my life I had perfect vision, eagle eyes. And then over the last 10 years or so, I noticed a diminished ability, and I had to get readers. And I could never find my readers, and I really, to the final days, couldn't read without them. So I went to the offices of Sharp Vision, Modern LASIK and Lens over in Bellevue, had a comprehensive eye exam, and they told me I had the beginnings of cataract, and that I was a perfect candidate for refractive lens exchange surgery. I had a lot of questions, which they answered and put me at ease. A simple couple hours at the office and one procedure, one visit, couple weeks of recovery, and I now have better vision than I've ever had in my life. Not just restored my perfect 20/20 vision. I've got 20/10 vision now. I will never need readers again, and I will never develop cataract with refractive lens exchange surgery. Sharp Vision Modern LASIK Lens, privately owned, no corporate shareholders or boardrooms. Dr. Sharp and his team have built the business. They've treated over 80,000 patients. They know what they're doing. If it's time for you to take a look at how you could be seeing the world 425-451-2020 is the phone number. 425-451-2020 or online at sharp-vision.com. Sharp with an E, -vision.com, official eye care providers of Sounders FC.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Jim Singletary here, Chief Roof Nerd at RoofSmart, where we're not afraid to tell you no. Looking for a roofing company that'll do cheap, fast work and just cover up the problem? No, that's not us. Want a quick quote without a real inspection? Nope. Just want a price without knowing your options? Not happening. Look, we don't want to tell you no, but if saying yes means cut corners, bad results, or wasted money, we won't do it. Period. And here's the deal. Seattle gets 150 rainy days a year. That's not wait and see weather, it's call RoofSmart now weather. We say no to leaky roofs, sloppy work, and bad estimates, and yes to thorough inspections, accurate quotes, and top quality work that actually lasts. So if you want an honest roofer who's not afraid to say no to bad work, call RoofSmart today at 206-487-4877 or visit GetRoofSmart.com. That's 206-487-4877 or GetRoofSmart.com.
An illegal alien from Guatemala charged with raping a child in Massachusetts. An MS-13 gang member from El Salvador accused of murdering a Texas man. A Venezuelan charged with filming and selling child pornography in Michigan. These are just some of the heinous migrant criminals caught because of President Donald J. Trump's leadership. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Under President Trump, attempted illegal border crossings are at the lowest levels ever recorded, and over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. If you are here illegally, you're next. You will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. You will never return. But if you register using our CBP Home app and leave now, you could be allowed to return legally. Do what's right. Leave now. Under President Trump, America's laws, border, and families will be protected.
Sponsored by the United States Department of Homeland Security.
The summer warehouse clearance sale is on now at Bob's Heating. We have an overstock of 2024 cooling equipment and everything must go. Save 30% on all 2024 air conditioners and heat pumps while inventory lasts. Once these units are gone, they're gone. So now is your chance to save. As temperatures start to heat up, we'll help you cool down with our summer warehouse clearance sale. Call Bob's for your free estimate today.
Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning. Call Bob.
Looking for a simple solution to hair loss this summer? Get the same breakthrough one-day treatment I received at Advanced Hair during their once-yearly summer savings event. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and Advanced Hair guarantees it will grow. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar during their best offer of the year. For details and a free consultation, call 425-449-8185, advancedhair.com.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
Planning a road trip? Plan a visit to your neighborhood Bucky's Complete Auto Repair for oil changes, brakes, AC repair, and factory maintenance. No appointment needed, and yes, friendly financing is available. Visit Bucky's.com.
At Les Schwab, we've been changing the tire game for more than 70 years. Our Go the Extra Mile service means more hustle, less hassle. We design our own exclusive tires to give you more tires made for the road you drive, less compromise. All backed by America's best tire warranty included with every tire we sell. We're talking more unbeatable tire warranty, less charging you extra, like the other guys. It's why you get more from less. Book an appointment at leschwab.com.
Welcome back to the Jake and Spike Show. I'm Spike O'Neill. Greg Thomas sitting in for Jake Skorheim all week long. I'm looking forward to every single minute of it. Well, Seattle's dying. That's what we've been hearing for the last 5-7 years. I think that first story that expose first broke. And let's face it, let's be honest, I love the city of Seattle, but it's got problems. Seattle's got a ton of problems, exacerbated by poor political direction for about a decade of the far, far left, super progressive.
Finally, you're admitting
I'm
it,
not,
Spike.
hey, dude, friends will tell you the truth, man. I know when things are going wrong. When you can't chase people through the streets, if they're pulling an ATM behind their car, we got problems. And that's just not Seattle. That's King County. That's Washington State. And we're, I hope, course correcting through the series of recent elections. But that being said, all these things, so the problems that we have between open-air drug use, between homeless situations, between vacancies, both commercial and residential in the city, all the different things that we have to deal with, I honestly think that despite not being perfect, this current iteration of local politicians and local policy is working. And the numbers bear it out because now, according to a national census survey, Seattle has gained roughly 21,000 citizens since the last count in 2024, and now 800,000 people call the city of Seattle home. Seattle is on the uptick.
This according to data released from the Washington Office of Financial Management, and other cities around the country aren't necessarily always on the growth trend. I saw Los Angeles lost around 1,800 people. San Francisco's on a bit of a decline. Similar trends, Chicago, Philadelphia, and elsewhere. And yeah, around 2% of a growth rate. It's nothing to disregard. It's actually a formidable number comparatively.
So let me ask you this, and just speculation, complete speculation. Is it because they've covered up and painted some graffiti, cleared off a few encampments, or is it because the tech sector and the medical research sector in Seattle is booming and people keep coming here?
Yeah, I'm
Little
sure
both?
complexities abound. Exactly. I don't think there's probably a simple answer to this one way or another. I think one way to ensure that this doesn't continue is to make it more onerous to do business here, more onerous to live here. I think the bigger the hand of government gets here, I think you'll attract a certain type of person, but then others are going to leave.
Service worker type
right.
are going to work. Yeah, we're going to become a city where you can't afford to work here.
Digging into these numbers was also illuminating King County's top 10 areas of growth. Now, so the 2.4% growth rate for Seattle is not number one in terms of percentage. Were you surprised to see North Bend with its numeric growth of 330 as a growth rate of 4.0%? And Black Diamond also had a pretty big boost here. So it seems like people are sort of branching out a little bit into more rural areas.
Yeah, the rings of urban growth are just spreading in all directions, whether it's Black Diamond, whether it's Auburn. The top 10 list of growth in this community in King County, it doesn't even, the city is North Bend, Bothell, Black Diamond, Carnation, I'm in my own shoreline, Redmond, Seattle, Bellevue, Auburn, Kirkland. I mean, it's the city is looking for places to build and communities to start. It seems like every time a grove of trees goes down, 12 houses go up. And we're lucky if it's only 12. If you've driven up the I-5 corridor of late, I had my sister came to town over the holiday weekend and spent 4 days in Seattle. And could not believe the number of multifamily, high-rise, residential, development along the light rail corridor. And everybody's bemoaning light rail. I'm telling you, light rail isn't to take a single car off the road. It's to keep the people that are now establishing residence along the I-5 corridor from getting on the road and using light rail. I mean, there are multi-story developments all up and down, everything between now Angle Lake and Linwood.
What's funny is I catch myself in this line of thinking every so often, and that is we live in an area that's surrounded by woods, not uncommon for these parts, right?
There. Sure.
I live on the east side. It's glorious natural beauty. And every once in a while, a massive development just comes in and wipes out
clear-cut the
countless amount of trees. And I sort of mourn it internally. And I'm like, why? It's just so beautiful and picturesque. And then I think, wait, the house that I live in around the 1980s, tons of
Did the
trees
same
were
thing.
taken down
Yeah.
so I could live in this current house that we purchased, 10, 15 years ago. And I think, hypocrite warning.
No. I love that you're aware enough to know that you don't lift up the ladder behind you when you've made a success.
Right.
You leave the ladder behind so others can ascend behind you. I mean, when they took down all the trees along the I-5 corridor to put in the light rail, I bemoaned the loss of greenery, one of the most beautiful stretches of highway in America, literally, and not to be hyperbolic, but in an urban setting. Between Seattle and Linwood, that green belt on both sides of the freeway is such a rarity. And now there's a light rail running up one side, and that's the cost of growth and the cost of having I know they're taxing us with the end of our lives, but a sustainable, healthy tax base, and that keeps our services aplenty and going forward in the needs that we have. All right, folks, it's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tomlin. When we come back, we're going to talk about your food dollar and how one major company, grocer in our area, is going to step up and make sure that you're getting the value promised you when you shop there. We'll tell you all about it. Don't go anywhere.
You listen to Charlie and Manda on Seattle's Morning News every morning. What do they listen to every afternoon?
I listen to John all the time when I'm driving home, driving my kids around.
I also listen to the John Curley Show, and even by the end of the day, I still like to keep my brain active, and he's very good at doing that.
John, first of all, is hilarious. I never know where this dude is coming from.
The perfect bookends to your daily commute with KIRO News Radio on 97.3 FM and the KIRO News Radio app.
Seattle home prices, well, they just keep going up, and you might be ready to take advantage. If you're getting ready to sell or just moved into a new home, now is the time to get a thorough inspection of your crawl space and attic. And don't do it yourself. You don't want to be crawling around in there. You probably don't even really know what to look for. It's Mike Salk here, and Crawl Pros will go where you don't want to, so you can know if there's anything going on in your crawl space or attic without having to crawl into and evaluate those spaces on your own. A free inspection will let you know if your home is energy efficient and if the air you're breathing is clean and safe. Plus, there are some really great utility rebates available right now to help you with the cost of the new installation if it's needed. How nice would it be to get someone else to cover that cost? Had them out to my house, and it was a great idea. Did that free corner-to-corner inspection, found some issues, they took the pictures, showed them to me, and then solved the problem. No issues since. If you're worried about critters, mold, water damage, insulation issues, or anything else related to your crawl space or attic, call Crawl Pros or visit crawlpros.com.
Keeping your engines healthy means protecting them in season and out. Experts trust Stable to do that. And third-party testing confirms it. Stable is the industry leader in preventing fuel-related issues, no matter if you use it in your car, boat, or outdoor power equipment. In season or out, at every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you worried about economic conditions, tariffs, and inflation? Are you tired of trying to time the stock market? Maybe it's time to take a little risk off the table given current market volatility. For stability, there's no better option than Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, a fixed return of 9%. Hi, I'm Scott Rirucka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. We've been running local real estate investment funds for over 18 years with zero investor losses, averaging double-digit returns since inception, and we also accept IRAs. Over 1,000 local investors have invested over $250 million in our Legacy family of funds. Feeling uneasy? Don't gamble your hard-earned money or risk your retirement. Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, returning 9%, has limited openings for new investors right now.
Call 425-635-4700 or visit LegacyG.com. That's LegacyG.com.
This is not investment advice. Legacy investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
Hi, my name is Jordan Gage, head of school at King Schools. Is tuition cost the number one thing keeping you from making the leap into Christian education? Did you know that King Schools awards over $2.3 million in tuition assistance every year? 25% of the families that make up this incredible Kings community utilize our variable tuition program to make Kings more accessible. The team at Kings would love to have you on campus for a tour and consultation to see how to make it possible for your family to experience the difference in Christian education at Kings.
Mention this ad and no application fee. Go to joinkings.org for more info.
KIRO FM and HD1 Tacoma, Seattle.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Cammie McCormick. The death toll in Texas from the floods is now at 95. 27 of the victims were from a girls' camp. Senator Ted Cruz.
The children, the little girls who were lost at Camp Mystic. That's every parent's nightmare.
Correspondent Jason Allen.
In some places, there is nothing left. You can't even tell what was there before this flood came through. And this is a part of the country that people here know as a flash flood alley. There's a combination of extreme rain events, very thin soil. So officials here over the last 3 days say they have rescued more than 850 people, some of them from the tops of trees and others from rooftops.
There have been questions about whether there was sufficient warning and whether National Weather Service cuts added to the tragedy. Stacey Lynn has White House reaction.
While some say the Trump administration's cuts to the National Weather Service may have played a part.
Despite unprecedented rainfall, the National Weather Service executed timely and precise forecasts and warnings.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pushed back on the allegations.
Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie.
She said the Weather Service did its job.
So to any person who has deliberately lied about these facts surrounding this catastrophic event, you should be deeply ashamed.
Stacey Lynn, CBS News, the White House.
A tropical storm swept through the Carolinas this weekend, dumping heavy rains and causing flooding.
It was really scary. And then the lights went out. It was dark, and all you could see was the water just moving. It was really scary, for real.
At least one death is blamed on the storm. 2 other people are missing. President Trump sent letters to U.S. trading partners today advising them that a deadline is approaching to reach an agreement and avoid higher tariffs. In the case of Japan and South Korea, 25% tariffs. CBS's Natalie Brand.
Notably, those higher rates would not take effect until August 1st. So it seems as though there's a few more weeks of negotiations here, but the administration trying to keep pressure on the top trading partners that it hopes to achieve deals with.
At the White House this evening, President Trump will meet with Israel's Prime Minister, and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the latest Gaza ceasefire proposal will be discussed.
A agreeable and appropriate ceasefire proposal has been sent to Hamas, and I can also tell you Special Envoy Witkoff intends to travel to Doha later this week, where he will continue to engage in these discussions.
Trump has been pushing for a ceasefire, which could lead to an end to the war. On Wall Street today, investors were nervous about the new threatened tariffs against Asian nations. The Dow Jones Industrials finished the day 422 points lower. This is CBS News.
Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com.
Coming up, a father and daughter overtaken by flames in their house. The story coming up after we go to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk. This report brought to you by Lake Washington Windows and Doors. And right now, the map showing a lot of green, which is a good sign for all of you out there. Linwood to Seattle, taking you just about 40 minutes. We have cleared any earlier incidents there. Still seeing those usual backups, though, starting around the University District. Bellevue to Renton, that is a 30-minute drive. Heading north into Bellevue from Renton, had an earlier incident right by 169. Still seeing a little bit of the backup there, starting at about the 167-405 interchange. And then you do clear up once you reach right around the VMAC or so. Looking at a 54-minute drive from Tacoma to Olympia, usual slowdowns past JBLM, and Renton to Puyallup taking you about 40 minutes. Nothing slowing you down on the bridges. And Seattle to Everett or Bellevue to Everett are also pretty much wide open. Upgrade your view with Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Buy one window or door. Get the second at 50% off through July. Visit LakeWashingtonWindows.com for details.
KIRO News Radio, 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Granillo. A house fire in Port Orchard claims the lives of a 40-year-old father and his 9-year-old daughter. Flames broke out early Saturday, and Kitsap County Sheriff spokesman Kevin McCarty says several other family members escaped.
What they got to do now is interview everybody who was inside the home and determine what was going on so they can find out whether or not these people were in a place where they got trapped for some reason.
Says a lack of water pressure from nearby fire hydrants also forced fire crews to send in multiple water trucks. They still don't know what sparked that fire. There's been a possible sighting of fugitive Travis Decker in Idaho.
In the Bear Creek area of the Sawtooth Mountains, 20 miles due east of Sun Valley, a family tipped off U.S. Marshals they spotted a man matching Decker, including a cream-colored T-shirt, black shorts, black earrings, ponytail, beard, and a mustache. Decker is now on the U.S. Marshals' top 15 most wanted list. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
King County Assessor John Wilson is expected back in court tomorrow. KIRO News Radio's James Lynch reports.
Wilson was arrested last week for investigation of stalking his estranged fiancée and violating a court order to stay away from her. He will be arraigned in King County, but Casey McNerthney with the King County Prosecutor's Office says if charges are filed, the case will be handled by prosecutors in Snohomish County.
The King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office represents the Assessor's Office. We thought just to make sure that there's no question of a conflict of interest.
There have been calls for Wilson's resignation, but he says he's not going anywhere and is running for King County Executive. James Lynch, KIRO News Radio.
Seattle Mariners have some good reason to celebrate. They just held the Pittsburgh Pirates scoreless in a 3-game sweep. That's a first in franchise history. And the M's learned yesterday they have a few more All-Stars.
Brian Wu, dominant, 11 in a row put down.
Pitchers Brian Wu and Andres Munoz join Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh on this year's American League squad. Weather now brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are feeling like summer out there right now. All sunshine the next couple of days and highs in the low to mid 80s. We're up to 79 right now in downtown Seattle. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with a KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News. It's the all-new Jake and Spike Show on KIRO News Radio.
Welcome back to the show. You know, it's no mystery. It's no big revelation that food prices have become almost unbearable for a lot of families. One of the things that are not negotiable in a daily family budget is shelter and food. And when food prices really haven't recovered from the inflationary responses to, I guess it's still all COVID related, with the incredible food shortages, supply chain interruptions, and overall costs of life that contributed to our food budgets going through the roof. One thing people do is they, more than ever, I think in the past, at least for my family personally, I follow sales around and I clip coupons. And, you know, not physically, it's funny, I don't physically clip coupons, I do the digital coupon thing.
How to find the best price anywhere nowadays is like trying to crack the Enigma code in World War II. I mean, you compare the Amazon price with this over here, with the in-store, with the brick and mortar, and do you price match? And do I have a digital coupon? And is there a coupon code that I can get from a website and so on and so forth?
Do you do the legwork?
I always feel like I'm paying too much no matter what I'm buying.
We are. Do you, my favorite jelly is $9 a jar now.
Oh, wow. It was highbrow jelly at the O'Neill home.
It was $4 before the pandemic, and you know, I'm not sure if there was a berry shortage or a picker shortage, but I guarantee you that it ain't $9 worth of jam, so I stopped buying it.
Okay, but I know I'm ignorant, but when you like see the cans of Coke or Diet Coke and it's like buy 4
get 12.
But then my wife says, well, you only really need to buy 1 as long as you enter the phone number. So why does it say you need to buy 4 to get that price? And then the small print is like, actually, it's per 1. And then the digital coupons I've never understood. Maybe my age is showing. I'm only 42. But do I need to download an app Every time I see the digital code, I say, I'm not downloading another app. I will just pay the full price. Damn it.
You do have to download an app, and I have Safeway's app, I have QFC's app on my phone. Those are the two grocers closest to my home, at least for now, till they shut down because of labor costs. Another thing that comes in the cost of our grocers is the cost of increased labor, because you got to pay a living wage in this town. They just had a recent grocer strike for the major. I think Albertsons, they had that happen for them. Not Albertsons, excuse me. It was Kroger, QFC, and Fred Meyer. But the merger that was interrupted by our own Bobby Ferguson, Bullet Bob Ferguson, Turd Ferguson in this regard, didn't allow the merger to take place. So that's the grocers saying that's contributing to higher grocery prices. You know, we have an expert, not just on staff, but in the room, on how to shop and shop efficiently and make your dollar go as far as possible.
Tell me more.
Oh, I wish I could, but I'd have to demur to our own residential grocer retail expert, Laura Scott.
Yeah, I'm actually famously crazy for
I wouldn't say crazy.
my price comparison.
Troubled, but not crazy. you do the legwork.
A single-minded obsession. Yeah. Well, I love to cook. Only certain stores carry certain brands of different things that I like at certain prices. So when I do my grocery shopping, I'll pull up like 3 or 4 different grocery websites, from Fred Meyer to QFC, which do have price differences between them, and Safeway and Costco, and I will do the math and put things in different carts based on what the cheapest option is. So I know all about digital couponing.
So what I found, and not to single any particular store out, but I found myself in a Safeway late at night. It was almost midnight in my local.
Buying only fruit and vegetables.
Buying a certain kind of cookie that wasn't available at my store, but I digress. Keep the missus happy and life is good. Anywho, I'm in there and there's a digital coupon for this cookie that no one else seemed to have in stock. And I take it up front, and I'm in there with the app, and I swear to God, they must line the stores in lead to not give us Wi-Fi connections in the store to move through a digital app's processes. And I get up to the register and I say, look, I'm having a hard time, blah, blah, blah. And the lady who was working the closing shift, who had about enough of shoppers, that thing doesn't work. It never has
enough
worked.
Of your ilk.
Well, yeah, she just said in a moment of unbridled honesty, that thing doesn't work. Never has. People just give up. They want you to give up. Here, let me just void that out and ring in the price by hand.
Oh.
And she spoke exactly like that. I worked weeks on that impression. I mean, she was a smoker, and I love her for it. But these digital coupons are hard to navigate. And
yeah.
But they are, as was your wife said, if you just type in the phone number, you'll get, I don't have to buy 2, get 3 free.
I don't think you get the
12 racks of soda or whatever.
To me, it's always like playing roulette or something when I enter the phone number. I'm like, which items are going to be marked down? I never have any clue. And then I see, my total's $120. It only came down $5. I thought it was going to come to, you never know. I mean, they could be nickel and diming you in ways that you've never even dreamed of, because it's not like I'm creating a tally every time I go, okay, so 3 12-packs of Diet Coke are $9.99. I'm not like double checking it when I get up to the register. You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes the discounts never even fully register.
Do you buy things when you get like buy 2, get 2 free, buy 1, get 1 free? Do you shop?
I'm susceptible to that if it's the Hostess cupcakes. And every single time.
Because they never go bad and they have shelf life of 25
tell the wife,
years.
Hide them under the seat on the way home and then put them in the office.
Well,
Am I divulging too much?
Not at all. You put your trash in the neighbor's trash can. I know how this works. I swear we were buying sodas because I had, my kid was home from college and friends were coming over. And I'm not a big soda drinker. And it was buy 2, get 3 free. And I'm thinking, I don't want 5 12 packs of soda, but it's a summer's worth of soda, and it's not going to go bad. And I have a secondary fridge in my garage that we use for beverages and whatnots. And when I buy butter at Costco, I buy a half a cow-sized block of butter. So I put those kind of things out there, and I could afford to. I said, great, I'll get, that drops the price down incredibly. How much money you can save if you are diligent about chasing discounts.
If they ever had like a sommelier equivalent for foods that are packed with preservatives and processed foods, I would be a sommelier for those types of delectables.
You want me to help you find the most unhealthy thing in the store?
Well, here's the thing. If I see the Cheez-Its...
You're going to root out truffles like a hawk?
If Cheez-Its are buy one, get one, those are old Cheez-Its. They've lost the essence of their flavor. They've been on the shelf too long. Yes, it's pre-expiration, but I think they were in some hot semi-truck for far too long in the summer. It was 98 degrees, and they were left outside, and they go, we know these taste bad. People aren't buying them right now, so it's buy one, get one. So you think you've just won the lottery.
But there's a reason stuff gets put on mass markdown.
I think so. Laura, am I out to lunch with that theory?
Yeah, maybe they're from the wrong Cheez-It factory. Have you guys
That's
heard
what
this
I'm saying.
theory? There's 2 Cheez-It factories. One of them makes much better Cheez-Its than the other.
Check the serial number.
Check the serial number.
Yep.
If it starts with a K,
I'm
that's
telling
the
you.
one you want to buy.
I'm telling you, and Ritz crackers, I mean, some of them taste butterlicious. Other ones taste like cardboard. You got to know.
Wait a minute. I had a pack of those. I'm like, what happened to these?
I'm telling you, I could be the sommelier for all kinds of processed foods, folks. It's sad and depressing, but it's also...
Well,
we should do a blind taste test.
We should do this. We got him for the whole week. Let's do this. Let's line this up.
But we're burying the lead here. So they're changing the digital code, digital coupon process here because a few years ago, a coalition of consumer groups got together and said, stop discriminating against our senior citizens and low-income shoppers because it was seen as lopsided as this policy is favoring only the tech-savvy and the well-to-do. And I will just say this, there's no quicker way to get a business or organization to acquiesce to the clamors of the populace than to cry discrimination over a policy or practice. Lo and behold, in this case, it worked here. So now, if you're shopping at a Kroger-backed grocery store or whatever property,
Fred Meyer QFC,
you'll be able to just pick up a digital coupon or scan one as you enter into the facility. Apparently, that's like a big breakthrough landmark thing.
To your point, I know you made fun of the whole old people and poor people problem.
I didn't make fun of them.
You did too. You said they acquiesce to people whining. Basically, if I'm paraphrasing, I apologize.
That's charitable.
But myself, I'm on the dark side of the mountain here with regard to how much time I've got left on the big fiery rock called Earth. It's hard for me to navigate the apps, and it's hard for me to get a signal in the store. And I scan multiple times that stupid QR code, and it doesn't seem to work. And unless I throw myself at the mercy of the midnight checker, who says it never works. I knew that would come in handy. Now all those discounts are available in paper form for the seniors among us, for the low income among us who don't have a cell phone, smartphone to carry into the store with you,
a more analog
download the
way.
app, a more analog way to do business. Everybody is the availability of these discounts are equitably distributed to. This is DEI.
This is DEI.
This is the essence. Of course, it is. It's the equity of available discounts to all citizenry, not just those who are lucky enough to have a smartphone or understand technology.
Like me with multiple store shopping deals. Yeah.
So the Trump administration must hate this. We have to alert them. Come and get this. Let's take away their subsidy. Let's do something. This is the epitome of DEI. That's why it's good. This discount should be available for everybody in the store, regardless of financial status or age.
I don't know. I think that's a slippery slope, and maybe that's a logical fallacy.
I knew I'd get you to turn on discounts. I knew I could get you.
But a business should have a right to do whatever the frickin' A they want to do in this regard. Who cares? If you don't like it, shop somewhere else that doesn't have the digital coupons.
It doesn't have the pill that will kill you because it was made in somewhere other little country that doesn't really clean their machines. Is that what you really want?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Laura, have you ever thought of starting a business to help people shop in a more thrifty way?
What
if you have this bank of knowledge and wisdom at your fingertips to get the best deals everywhere and anywhere, I don't know. Is it a Pinterest or Etsy thing? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I just do it for myself with the stuff I know that I like to buy. I don't know if I could spreadsheet it out for people.
I bet you
I have certain things that I know will go on sale regularly at certain stores, so I'll stock up.
So I
share
love
the
this
love.
topic. Yeah, we should write some. Or you, when I say we, I mean you. should aggregate a list of the tips you've learned over time.
Yeah, it's not a
to
bad
help
idea.
you find, share that with the audience, post it to our social media.
Or make it an ebook that costs $3.99.
And now you're thinking like a capitalist.
Greg said business.
Yeah, now you're thinking like a capitalist. I love it. Hey, let me ask you this. This is far afield, and I apologize, but I meant to bring this to the show this week, and today's the day to do it. Tomorrow is Amazon Prime Day.
Oh.
Is that right? I think I've got that right, because every Amazon package delivered to our home this weekend, and there were multiple times, had this blue tape made specially for Amazon Prime Day, which is July 8th. Right?
Yeah, I just Googled it.
I've been told by the truly unpleasant Mrs. O'Neill that Amazon Prime, that you can load up the discounts available to you. There's an algorithm that Melissa swears, and honey, I'm just trying to verify this. I'm not questioning your judgment. If you're listening to this tape, please don't lock the door. If you load something into your shopping cart and then remove it without buying it, Amazon will then put that particular item into your personal Amazon Prime Day to entice you to finally make that purchasing decision that you had decided against. And I wonder if anybody out there knows if that's got validity to it.
And do you interpret that as surreptitious, nefarious, and evil, or is it something like just a smart business strategy?
Well, I know that Amazon spares no expense in learning my shopping patterns, sending me targeted advertisement to things I've already looked at prior. Are you still interested in this? This is now on sale. But I'm wondering can you backload the Amazon Prime Day discounts
I see.
into things you really want? I mean, Prime Day to me has always seemed, maybe it's just my perception, Prime Day has always seemed like, here's the stuff we can't move. It's marked down for clearance. Here's the stuff that we've got a ton of. Let's put it on super, super discount to get it out of here. They look like Ritz. They don't quite taste like Ritz crackers. But it's always the things you really don't need, but it's too good a price to pass up. What if it's the things you really do want? And you can load up your algorithm by putting it in and then taking it out of your cart, saying no to a purchase decision. Would they then put that on Prime Day discounts and put it back in front of you? We know every feed is tailor-made to us.
Laura, can you ask ChatGPT right away and get back to us with the answer there? Jeff Bezos has to pay for his wedding somehow. I mean,
no,
maybe
he doesn't. He's got tons of money. I'm happy to take money out of Jeff Bezos' pocket. Happy to any chance I
And take
get.
something out of your cart and then put it back in.
And put it back in and
In
get
the
it cheaper
meantime.
tomorrow. Yeah. All right. If we got time, let's do this. Let's change gears. Summer jobs.
Well, and this relates a little bit to the grocery store topic because I was thinking, do clerks at the grocery store make above minimum wage, around minimum wage? Are those part-time jobs? Are they full-time jobs? I think it kind of depends here, but there's a big write-up, I believe, in the New York Times about how the summer job, which is a rite of passage for teams, might be fading away. They say as businesses face economic uncertainty, seasonal work is harder to find, pushing the unemployment rate for teenagers above 13%. Here is a glaring omission that I thought this article made, and that is the rising or the increase in minimum wage everywhere that is pricing young teenage workers out of the job market. It was not uncommon for me and my peers to have jobs. In high school at 15, 16 years old, I worked at Borders Books, the Ranch Drive-In, Crossroads Movie Theater, so on and so forth. I'm finding that more and more rare these days with teens having these kind of jobs. And I think a big part of that equation is they've been priced out because businesses... you will pay someone what they are worth, right?
Businesses can't afford to hire as many people because of the raising minimum wage?
No, because if a job is worth $12 an hour, you'll pay someone accordingly. But if your threshold is $20 an hour, then you've moved a lot of teens out of the market and say, well, you're not worth $20 an hour. I need to pay someone who's been around the block a little bit. But when the government comes in and starts dictating to businesses and organizations what people are worth, then you're pricing a whole class of people out of their first job and after their first rung of the ladder to start climbing up.
Is it fair to ask if these positions are no longer entry-level positions because so many families, we've become such a service-oriented economy as manufacturing has been either innovated out or offshored out of existence? Are so many jobs now in the service industry that grown adults, used to be a fast food job like a McDonald's or a Burger King or whatnot, would be an entry-level summer job, if not after-school job for kids. Now, there are grown adults working these jobs full-time, especially with McDonald's. They have to pay a competitive wage to get these people there. Now, is that the state telling people what they have to pay?
That's what I think.
There's probably a lot to the fact that, I think it's hard to argue that the state demanding a living wage from its employers. I think that's not a bad thing. We're not talking about nobody's getting rich on these minimum wage jobs.
No, but not every job is created equal, and not every job demands a quote-unquote living wage.
True,
and I think that's why the teen employment rate has partially plummeted.
Agreed, but I think I think you're not wrong. I think what you're saying is factually and it's spot on. Your perception is true, but also the fact that there aren't so many career jobs out there anymore. That people who do need to support a family, regardless of their age or station, are taking these entry-level jobs, and that's where they're stuck. Because there isn't a manufacturing sector, and despite all the tariff talk and the talk about bringing production back to America, that ship has sailed and sank.
And I've just scratched the surface of this topic in terms of how the job market has changed so dramatically over the last 30, 40 years. But have you done any research into the fact that households previously just needed one income to really survive, but then we started to define households by having to have two full-time incomes?
Yes, absolutely.
But then that gets into a topic that not a lot of people like to dive into, which is men versus women in the workforce and so on, because it used to be dramatically different 60 years ago. Now you need a mother and a father both producing income. Was that partially because of a revolution that happened in terms of gender roles, or was that just born out of a necessity of households need more money, so you need more people working and so on and so forth?
One generation ago, my parents owned a home, a big 4-bedroom home.
Yeah.
That could be supported with one income.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, that $40,000 home in 1975 and that's 2 generations. Don't get me, I know better. That home of $40,000 in 75 now costs $850,000, and there is no way that one income. I don't think it's as much to do with gender roles or the level playing field of female employees to male employees as much as everything now costs more. Housing costs have gone tenfold. College costs. You got kids, you want to put them in college? What used to cost $2,400 a semester now costs $25,000 a semester. As the rising tide drowns all families. Sorry, bad analogy on a day like today. I think that is more a factor in why there are kids can't get jobs in the summertime. I don't think it's because they're lazy or on their Game Boys. That's not the case. I think it may have a partial factor in this, but I really think it is. The fact that service jobs are now full-time jobs for adults in this country trying to get as many incomes coming in as they can. All right. Chewed on that one for a while, didn't we? Yeah, buddy. When we come back, it's the Jake and Spike Show with Greg Tomlin. We can either keep talking about teens and families and incomes, or we can move on to education and whether or not your school is teaching your kid what they need to know, not just what you want them to hear. We'll have it when we come back. Don't go anywhere. This hour is brought to you by Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens.
Oh, it is the time of the season for pests. That's right. No one likes them. No one knows where they come from. But we can all agree no one wants them in their house. Mike Salk here for Crawl Pros, and they have a full-service pest control division now called Pest Pros. They can come to your house and do a full corner-to-corner inspection, take care of any problems, just like they did at my home. This is the time of the year you'll start seeing more ants in and around your home. You may also begin hearing a little buzzing outdoors. Bees, wasps, hornets, if they make a nest on your property, that is a huge nuisance. So please don't try to take care of those nests on your own. Simply call Pest Pros to have any nest removed and destroyed professionally before the problem grows or you and your guest ends up getting stung. Pest Pros is the full-service pest control division of Crawl Pros with eco-friendly treatments to keep ants, stinging insects, and all sorts of critters from making their way into your home. If you're worried about rodents, ants, or other bugs or an issue in and around your home, call Pest Pros or visit gopestpros.com to schedule a free inspection at gopestpros.com.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
At Clear Choice Dental Implant Centers, we get that your teeth, your budget, and your story are all unique to you, which is why our experts who specialize in dental implants will build a custom solution around each patient's needs. With personalized treatment plans and third-party financing options, we'll help you get your new teeth on your terms. Visit clearchoice.com or call 888-SMILE-05 to schedule your free consultation today and let us help Seattle start smiling again.
Office is owned by Dr. Alfonso Pinheiro.
Hi, it's John Curley. You know, I've been a patient of Longevity Medical Clinic since 2009, and Longevity Medical Clinic has been helping people live longer, healthier lives for more than 25 years. You know what's amazing, Doctor? The feelings that you have after just a couple of months. You sleep better. Your strength and vitality, it is evident that it works. It's really a mindset, though, Dr. Mixon, because a lot of people, well, this is what's supposed to happen.
Let us help you be stronger, faster, leaner, smarter, sexier, but most important, happier. I'm less impressed by how many years I might live, but how much I live during my years. You know, the option is here. Nobody's going to make you go to longevity. But the opportunity is there, and all you have to do is take advantage of it. I don't know why anybody would not want to do what we do.
And that's where Longevity Medical Clinic comes in. So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
I'm here with Jonathan from DUI Heroes to discuss an easy mistake to make when you get pulled over for DUI.
You don't have to perform voluntary tests like the standardized field sobriety tests or the voluntary preliminary breath test out on the roadside. They're voluntary by nature, which means you can simply say no thank you. You also can ask to speak with a lawyer immediately.
Which is where DUI Heroes comes in. 1-800-DUI-HERO or DUIHeroes.com, your DUI defense specialist.
Tired of sitting on your suitcase? 2 words, packing cubes. Sometimes a different way is the better way. Like the SR 509 Expressway, an alternate route that'll help manage congestion on I-5 and other local roads. Now open and free through summer.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Granillo. The death toll now up to 95 in central Texas, where flash floods left communities devastated. Joe Herring Jr. is the mayor of hard-hit Kerrville.
I need to tell my community and those families who are waiting, this will be a rough week.
At least 27 of those killed were either kids or staff members at a summer camp. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey says local American Red Cross volunteers have joined the relief efforts.
Monty Burrich tells KIRO 7 TV Red Cross volunteers go through weeks, if not months, of instruction before heading to a disaster area like Central Texas. How to organize and provide a safe place to stay, food to eat, and the medical and mental health support people need.
All of our volunteers and staff, they get rigorous training before they deploy because there's inherent risk when you deploy.
The Red Cross already has several emergency shelters set up in Texas. Luke Ducey, KIRO News Radio.
High-speed chase in Yelm ends with a fatal crash. KIRO 7 TV's Lindsay Sheldon says several cars were involved yesterday.
Troopers say Yelm police tried to pull over a driver for speeding on Vale Road, but they refused to stop. They turned onto State Route 507, lost control of the car, and crashed into another car. That's when the Yelm police officer crashed into those 2 cars. Now, troopers say that the driver trying to get away from Yelm police was ejected and died at the scene.
3 others, including that Yelm police officer, went to the hospital. They are expected to be okay. Seattle police now searching for 2 teenage suspects who they believe broke into a home and stabbed a 17-year-old girl in West Seattle.
They found a victim with multiple stab wounds all over her body and significant blood loss.
That's SPD Detective Brian Pritchard. He says this happened just after midnight Saturday morning in the Delridge neighborhood near Riverview Playfield. The victim was taken to Harborview in serious but stable condition. Numbers are in from 4th of July weekend, and it is not a pretty picture. As of this morning, Harborview treated 52 people who suffered fireworks-related injuries. Medical Center says most of the injured suffered blows to their hands or eyes. Now to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk at 2:33. This report is brought to you by Seattle Sports. We start down in Renton on 405 southbound at SR 169. A new crash now blocking the right lane. Seeing some backups right around the landing. Then it does clear up as you approach 405. Rest of the map, pretty typical for this time of day. Right now, a 40-minute drive from Linwood to Seattle. Looking at a 54-minute drive from Tacoma to Olympia. Those construction slowdowns through JBLM are still in effect. Looking at a 50-minute drive now from Renton to Puyallup. Just volume right now slowing you down from Auburn to Sumner. And heading up north into Everett, about a 50 to 50-minute drive from Seattle or Bellevue. Lake bridges are running smoothly. You can always listen to your favorite local sports content on the FM dial. Head to 97.3. HD2. Your forecast now brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. We are warming up for the next couple of days, mainly dry with temperatures in the low to mid 80s today and tomorrow. Right now, 81 in downtown Seattle. I'm Aaron Granillo, KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News.
Welcome back to the show. Spike O'Neill along with Greg Tomlin. You know, in America, only 13% of 8th graders, according to a new study, are proficient in U.S. history. And the reason being, a lot of schools, the reasons, finger pointing can go both directions here. A lot of schools want to teach your student that America was an oppressive patriarchy, full of embarrassing details that do not allow your child to have an unbiased or nuanced perception of American history. Now, I think America is founded by a bunch of genius, brilliant men. Look at Greg smiling and laughing already.
I'm waiting to see where you're going to go with summarizing the American Revolution here.
The American
Bunch
Revolution
of rich white men, landowners who hated women and black people.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay.
It's exactly true. It's exactly true. But it doesn't mean they couldn't have been groundbreaking, forward-thinking individuals who sought for something better for everybody in this country. Eventually, women and black people too. Mm-hmm. Because, the living, breathing document that is the Constitution has been amended 23 times. Is it 23? If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that. It's getting harder and harder.
It's been a while since the last.
I doubt if we'll ever have a constitutional amendment again because it takes a 2/3 majority, and you can't get unbiased or you can't get a
bipartisan
enough to have a constitutional amendment to get through anymore. I think you should teach the accuracy of history, not just the convenience or comfortableness of history. A lot of curriculums in a lot of states, a large portion of them conservative, have removed various inconvenient or uncomfortable truths to be told to kids. Now, a lot of times, those truths are offered to students without parental consent. I know there was a recent Supreme Court decision that said parents have the right to opt out of various curriculum or literature being offered to their school kids at various appropriate ages. A lot of times schools try to shove this information down kids' throats, accurate or not, far too earlier in their development. 2nd to 5th graders do not need to know about gender studies. But I would also argue that middle schoolers or high schoolers not only deserve to, but we have an obligation to teach them the ugly, embarrassing truths about who this country is and the growth process and evolutionary process of who we are as a country.
I don't disagree with any of that. And something I want to piggyback on, which you just spoke of, was the age appropriateness of certain information and facts that you give kids, because we are talking about education and passing on the idea of America, U.S. history, civics, and so on and so forth. And I feel like our generation has fumbled the football in many regards. You need to teach history in proportion to its impact. And what is the essence of America's founding? And first of all, there's a reason you don't show a 6-year-old a rated R movie. It's not age appropriate, okay? A 6-year-old can understand, well, I think I have a concept of good and bad, and that's about all they can get because their brains are still forming for another 18 years or so, okay?
Some of us longer, but go on.
I sort of laugh or chuckle a little bit when I talk to people either in their 20s and 30s and go, I never learned that in school early on. And I'm like, well, you weren't supposed to learn that early on, okay? Because if the first thing you tell a 7th grader about the nation that they live in is, oh, the founding of the nation was based on slavery, country, you will raise a nation of kids that grow up to hate their country and loathe their country and look for another system because you say, oh, we were founded on persecution, oppression, and evil, and we don't want to be that way anymore. So I actually hate the founding of the country, and maybe I can entertain some new ideas about what might make us a more flourishing country, okay? Now, should we be honest about our founding and not whitewash it? Absolutely. But the question and the nuance and the complexity comes in is, when should you introduce how contradictory human beings are at their core, including us? We don't have some unique goodness about us because we were born in 1980, 1990, or 2000, or whatever, and we look back and there's sort of this narcissism about how, oh, the ways of the old, they were so much different and backward thinking and regressive, and we are enlightened and we see things clearly. And I got news for you. 50 years from now, a lot of our policies, a lot of our ethos of this age, people are going to go, what were they thinking in 2025? That's tale as old as time immemorial. Things change, things progress, and so on and so forth. So I think you need to teach the Declaration of Independence. There's a reason Thomas Jefferson wrote down all men are created equal, endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He knew exactly what he was doing. Abraham Lincoln said it was a time bomb put in some of our founding documents. They knew that this issue of slavery was going to have to be addressed. They also knew that it would lead to disunion right away if they addressed it at the founding of the country in 1776.
They made a compromise,
and
absolutely.
in 1787.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's complex. And if they would have said, we're actually abolishing slavery right now, it would have led to another war, and it could have been total collapse of this American experiment. It had to be addressed. Unfortunately, it took way too long. Slavery is still America's original sin and is a stain on American history. But the lasting legacy of the founders is the Constitution in 1787 and that Declaration of Independence. And this idea that we're constantly becoming a more perfect union of the people, by the people, and for the people. Okay? And so, again, the Mexican-American War was a travesty. I mean, U.S. Grant, Abraham Lincoln didn't like the American-Mexican War, right? Taking territory. And so you should teach these things honestly and learn from them. And at the same time, I don't think you have to be overly consumed with those chapters in American history, the bad ones, to such an extent, or emphasize them to such an extent where the next generation starts to loathe the land that it lives in and believes that we are inherently not good, when in proportion and over 250 years, we've been an unmitigated blessing on the world, which is the true essence of America and the American idea.
I saw Ken Burns, who's in town, I think, next week, speaking, doing a piece he did on the American Revolution. He called the creation of America, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the greatest single act in human history. And it's arguably, everyone has their opinion, but I think he's got a strong case to make for that. You said that 7th graders shouldn't be taught our slave history, or history of slavery.
6 or 7-year-olds.
Okay, 7-year-old. I thought you said 7th grade.
8th grade, I think that's appropriate.
There are school systems in this country who have approved curriculum and textbooks that do not address slavery in this country, or that whitewash slavery up until 12th graders.
That's wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
Clearly.
And I think people who learn about our uncomfortable and unpleasant history, I don't think it's fair to say they're being taught to hate their country. I think that is a pejorative that's put upon that type of curriculum because it makes a certain element of society very uncomfortable. I don't think kids in elementary school should be divided between black students and white students. Say, okay, as an exercise in history, you're the slave owners, you're the slaves. That is completely inappropriate. And it happens far too often in progressive liberal school systems. By the same token, I have no time for educators who want to whitewash history, saying that slaves got tremendous marketable job skills out of slavery, and that's how slavery is presented. Was an economic system that gave the black community job skills. That is, both are equally offensive to the true meaning of who we are as a country and how we have evolved from our founding fathers, who had a necessity. All men are created equal, not all people. Slaves were 3/5 of a human for purposes of consensus, not equality, and it's evolved. And there are amendments as we learn and grow and evolve. That's why originalists just drive me nuts for the Constitution. I'm sure it's a valid point of view, arguable well beyond my capabilities. But we are a country, we spoke about earlier, what makes Americans. It's the fact that everybody came here with something. We kept what we liked. We discarded what we did, and we moved forward as a group. Woo! Day one. So far, so good. We got one more segment coming up. We're going to bring you your text of the day. And we'll have that right after this. Greg Tomlin's in for the balance of the week. It's the Jake and Spike Show. Don't go anywhere.
KIRO Newsradio exclusive on the Chi and Ursula Show.
New Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes, with the mass deportations and the actions by ICE, clarify when Seattle Police would step in and when they would not step in.
Just to be clear, Washington state law prohibits us from being involved. The only time we would get involved if there was a dangerous situation, if there was gunfire, just like we would for anything else.
Watch the full interview on the KIRO Newsradio YouTube page.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rireka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
Looking for a simple solution to hair loss this summer? Get the same breakthrough one-day treatment I received at Advanced Hair during their once-yearly summer savings event. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and Advanced Hair guarantees it will grow. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar during their best offer of the year. For details and a free consultation, call 425-449-8185, advancedhair.com.
You probably know Valentine Roofing for, well, roofing. But did you know they do much more than just roofing? If you need anything addressed on your siding, gutters, attic insulation, or even exterior cleaning, give them a call. That's what I did. Hey, Jake Skorheim here. I had a huge moss problem. So while I was at work, Valentine Roofing came out, they got rid of the moss, and they cleaned up like they were never there. Afterward, I got a link with all the details and photos showing my roof now looking like new. Schedule your free estimate today by calling Valentine Roofing at 206-ROOFING or online at valentineroof.com.
Hi, it's John Curley. Longevity Medical Clinic is your best plan for long-term well-being and personalized health care. Dr. Mixon, let me ask you a question. How long have some of your patients been working with you?
And we've got patients now that have been with us for over 20 years that are in their 90s, who came to us in their 60s. The grandparents now in their 90s are living independently. They're not on walkers, they're not on canes, they're not headed for nursing homes.
I meet people and they ask about, wow, you're in great shape, you have 12% body fat and stuff. What's the secret? I said, it's not a secret. Longevity Medical Clinic has been there for 25 years. There is no secret to the fact that if you make those small changes, you avoid the big, bad, horrible stuff that most of us just think, well, this is what's supposed to happen to me.
And if you're heading downhill and you don't change your direction, you're going to continue going downhill. And what we do at Longevity is we redirect you and we take you back up the hill.
So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
An illegal alien from Guatemala charged with raping a child in Massachusetts.
an MS-13 gang member from El Salvador accused of murdering a Texas man, a Venezuelan charged with filming and selling child pornography in Michigan. These are just some of the heinous migrant criminals caught because of President Donald J. Trump's leadership. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Under President Trump, attempted illegal border crossings are at the lowest levels ever recorded, and over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. If you are here illegally, you're next. You will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. You will never return. But if you register using our CBP Home app and leave now, you could be allowed to return legally. Do what's right. Leave now. Under President Trump, America's laws, border, and families will be protected.
Sponsored by the United States Department of Homeland Security.
When you speed, you have less time to react. Follow the speed limit to keep other road users safe. Speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
The summer warehouse clearance sale is on now at Bob's Heating. We have an overstock of 2024 cooling equipment and everything must go. Save 30% on all 2024 air conditioners and heat pumps while inventory lasts. Once these units are gone, they're gone. So now is your chance to save. As temperatures start to heat up, we'll help you cool down with our summer warehouse clearance sale. Call Bob's for your free estimate today.
Bob's Heating and Air Conditioning. Call Bob.
There we go. This is the song I would pick to highlight Matt Cameron's drumming skills.
Feel the rhythm with your hand.
You know, the Spoon Man was in one of our videos.
Is he still alive?
Artist, I don't know. I'll look into that. Artist the Spoon Man. We did a video with Ozzy Osbourne. We never got to that story. Where we got the story, didn't get to talk to Ozzy. Ozzy played his last show, and there's embarrassing. And I love him. I love him. But there's I don't say embarrassing, heartbreaking video of Ozzy's probably last time live performance.
Maybe we'll save it for tomorrow. We got to talk music all week together. But yeah, the Black Sabbath last show was something special.
We did a parody of Iron Man, and Ozzy gave us his blessing, starred in our video. Swear to you, I'll show it to you. As did Artist the Spoon Man. So we'll open our text with that on Pearl Jam losing Matt Cameron. Scotty and Kenmore says Matt has his own band that is probably about to release their first album. Matt's singing and playing guitar on that record. That'd be great to see. I look forward to that.
That's pretty cool because, I mean, if you think about it, Matt Cameron's played like arena after arena. He's at the pinnacle of his profession.
Yeah.
But the artist in him, if this is to be believed, I don't know a lot about his.
I think Scotty's got cred,
He still wants to like release original music, do something new, creative, and give up that massive platform playing to like 40, 50,000 fans regularly and be like, no, it's about the music for me. If that's true, that's cool.
You ever see the Pearl Jam song, Is It Stay? Is that the one that's...
Maybe.
I know that Willie Nelson's covered it. Lucas Nelson's covered it. Eddie wrote it. Eddie plays it by himself on stage with an acoustic guitar. And Matt Cameron sings background vocals on the song.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
All right, on Spike's criticism of the Fireworks TV broadcast, Lisa in Bellevue says, for sure on the camera work, Spike, agree.
It was horrendous. I'm sorry. It was horrendous, and we deserve better as a city.
And 206 says, agree 100% Spike on the music. First thing we said was, this music is terrible.
And again, I've got no problem with modern music. I know. I'm an older guy. I get it.
Do it on the New Year's Eve fireworks show.
Even this one. I love that there was inclusion of a hip hop crowd of Chapel Roan music into this. But where's the patriotic God Bless America? Where's Ray Charles? Where's John Philip Sousa? Unicycle Mike says maybe Mr. Spike needs to get a bigger TV. I think 80 inches is all my wife was going to allow, and I am not buying a bigger house.
And Jerry in the 206 says, first mistake was watching it on TV. Perspective is everything.
I will say, though, as I saw like guerrilla videos of like YouTubes from citizens, the fireworks show was much more than I got from King 5's coverage.
I was getting hit with debris, and I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Well, thanks for the invite. Sorry I couldn't make it to the boat party. Let's see. On federal way on federal way. On federal funding for the Texas flood and other natural disasters, John in Gig Harbor says, what are people going to say when wildfires overrun most of the state or the big earthquake comes? It can't just be left to the states.
Take care of your own house.
Ugh.
Fernando in Seattle says, I would like to agree with Spike, but under this administration, only red states get approval for disaster relief. So until the administration is gone, I'm going to agree with Greg.
Oh, I got to think of us better as a nation. Go ahead, Laura.
425 says natural disasters don't follow state lines.
They don't. And Mark and Nisqually, I was proud to respond to the World Trade Center and several other national emergencies when they were a long way from Washington State. It's my hope that when we help others, when we need help, others will come to our aid as well. Absolutely true.
On discount groceries, Anna in the 360 says, when you install and use the app at grocery stores, you're no longer the customer. You've become the product. I refuse. At checkout, I play the old person card. I feign helplessness, and I get the cashier to give me the discount without the app. I chuckle on my way out the door as I'm a retired software and database engineer.
Man! Well, and as we mentioned in the story, now the Kroger companies are putting the digital availability coupons in paper form and a flyer at the door. So you don't have to play helpless anymore, Ann. Just grab a flyer.
360 says there's also a good way of saving money by getting bulk buddies and sharing cases of produce going to Costco. Break up the big box items. I've done that. That's a great way.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, you get like 6 mangoes or
I can't eat that many avocados before they go bad.
Then you just split it with your friends.
That's brilliant. Yep. Okay, Nazi says, Laura, have you checked out the app Too Good to Go? Too Good to Go. Basically, it's food that the market has to sell before the Best Buy date. So the app allows you to get the $40, $50, $80 worth of food for $10 tops. Metro Market does it, and it's amazing. Baked goods and prepared foods. Food is still fresh, supplements your grocers, and saves food from being tossed. Outstanding.
And I've literally already downloaded the app.
I secretly enjoyed watching my son get his first taste of spoiled milk the other day.
Oh.
We all have to. It's like a rite of passage in
you
life.
put it on YouTube?
You don't check the date, and all of a sudden you're like,
and you don't take a whiff.
What is this? And you never look at milk the same way again. Hilarious. On Jobs for Teens, Jordan and Bonnie Lake says, my 19-year-old cannot find a job. We don't know what to do because this also means he can't move out. He applies and applies. Crickets or instant AI denial rejection.
Sad state of the times. That's all for us for today. Clearly, my mouth has run out of gas. Greg, thanks so much. We'll see you again tomorrow. The John Curley Show is in next. Don't go anywhere.
KIRO Newsradio exclusive on the G and Ursula Show.
New Seattle Police Chief Sean Barnes with the mass deportations and the actions by ICE clarify when Seattle Police would step in and when they would not step in.
Just to be clear, Washington state law prohibits us from being involved. The only time we would get involved if there was a dangerous situation, if there was gunfire, just like we would for anything else.
Watch the full interview on the KIRO Newsradio YouTube page.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you tried online gaming. Who knew 12-year-old boys could be so mean? And where did they learn to swear like that? 2 hours of losing to these underage trash talkers, and you're starting to question if maybe you really should stick to pickleball and other boomer stuff. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance that's right for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
It started as a puddle.
Where?
In the shower.
Uh-oh.
Then the kitchen sink.
Started backing up?
Yeah.
I know where this is going.
Clogged up.
Right.